Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another week of SMITE esports action. We're going to be kicking our week off here on this lovely Thursday with the SMITE Challenger Circuit week number 4 of play for these guys out here. They've only got 2 more weeks of play to try and secure their spot to be inside of that top 4. That's a lot of 4s for you guys to remember out there. That way they can move on and get ready for the Masters tournament going to be kicking off in a few weeks from there. But before we get into all of that, my name is Jay Mack. I got Trelly Relly joining me over here on the desk. As we get ready to talk into our first set today, we're going to have Mambo facing off against Gilded Gladiators, but it's not the only one. We're going to have 4. There's another 4 out there for you. More sets total, I should say, for you guys today.
That's a lot of fours that you
Too
had to
many
get
fours.
through there. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting day of SCC, as you mentioned. Trying to get that top 4 spot, making sure they can secure their spot. Both of these teams, they're trying to fight for that. I mean, essentially number 4 spot. There's a few. I mean, Gilded Gladiators right now are sitting at number 3, and obviously Mambo are sitting at number 5. So this is a big win for either of these teams right now.
Yeah, currently, if my math serves me correctly, we only have 1 team from each of our regions that kind of have that guaranteed spot out there. But we'll get into all the semantics of that as the week continues to go on, and as we get into week number 5 as well. That'll happen next week. But for this week, let's take a look at the schedule and see what we have in store for you guys over in the EU side. It'll be Gilded Gladiators and Mambo for our very first matchup. Styx Ferrymen and the Highland Ravens will be coming up next. And then tomorrow, before SPL kicks off, we'll have the Niflheim Wargs up against the Aru Scorpions. And if I'm not mistaken, the Wargs are the one team here in this region so far. They do have the undefeated record. And if my memory serves me correct, are also one of the only teams that have a guaranteed top 4 spot right now. Everybody else is still fighting for those remaining 3.
Yeah, as you mentioned, as long as right now being 3-0, you have a pretty solid, little record to go for. You don't have to really worry about anything right now. Just making sure to keep your standing where it is. Obviously, you see they're 3-0, and the Aru Scorpions 0-3, so they unfortunately have the opposite record in that spot. But right now, you're just trying to make sure you can secure your position. That's what everyone's going for right now.
Yeah, everybody wants to make sure they can get into that top 4 spot because then that gets them their guaranteed chance to go over to the Masters tournament that's going to be happening in a few weeks. That's what all of these SCC teams are currently fighting for right now, is to make sure they can guarantee their chances to go into Masters, and then that'll give them some opportunities to potentially fight against some of the SPL squads that'll be happening all throughout that event. So it's going to be a whole long event going on there. But let's go ahead and talk about this matchup specifically. We've got Mambo and the Gladiators up first here. And I want to talk a little bit about Mambo because this is a team, when you look at the names on this roster, I mean, you got Deathwalker, Johnny, Zeros, Trixtank, E-Chrome. These are some of the biggest powerhouses in the EU region. But so far, Charlie, we haven't really seen quite that level of performance yet. This team is currently only sitting 1 and 2.
Yeah, you say they're the biggest powerhouses, but you're right. They haven't been able to perform. They take some games off people. It's not like they've been just out completely. They are able to take some games, but finding those 2-1s, it's just not in the cards right now. We see these great plays from Zeros. Obviously, Trix is on this facilitator role. Woo! It's early in the morning, and he always wants to go in and find these kills, but it's just they're not able to close out these games. So you're right to say they have all this name recognition, and Deathwalker. You think of him back in the day in the SPL, just owning lane against everyone in that solo lane, but they just haven't been able to perform.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a slow start so far for the Mambo. As I said, sitting at that 1 and 2, went to a full 3-game set against the Ferrymen last week, and unfortunately ended up losing that one in a 2-1 combo there. But I think a lot of focus needs to be over, less so in that duo lane, because the EU duo lanes for most of these regions all seem to be fairly similar. Trixtank, though, does like to go for some of those more Klexpic, like the Kumakarn is one that he likes to go over towards. The Ganesh is even one in kind of his repertoire. It's more so that mid and jungle matchup that I really keep my eyes on. Johnny and Zeros, who were former teammates in the SPL last year, on the side of the Valkyries, now having to face off against another opposition here in the Gilded Gladiators and his former Just F6 roster, now known here as the Gilded Gladiators. I mean, they're going to be facing off against Maskill and Sotos, who have been really hot so far this season coming into here. This whole Gilded Gladiators team has really been stepping up ever since their debut, or not really debut, but ever since they got that chance to come here at LAN for that SPL qualifier.
Yeah, I think you're right to highlight more so the duo lane in the EU circuit. They really like to play very sort of lackadaisical, sitting back, rotate over in the later portion of the game. But as you mentioned, the jungle, they are really getting after it early, trying to find these solo kills, trying to find as much pressure as you can on the map right now. And this Gilded Gladiators roster, I feel like Toddy is one of the top ADCs where you can just stay back, as I mentioned, and not really get active in the game until these later stages, because that's when they really want to fight. This EU sort of meta is a little bit slower than the NA meta. You're not going to see as much kills early, but once about that 20-30 minute mark, that's when these team fights are really going to start flying.
And sometimes it even feels like a couple of these EU teams really do like to play for that early style, and it seems that the Gladiators have adapted that from that NA mentality. When they came over here for those SPL qualifiers. You know, they struggled in their very first set. They're like, wow, this is not what we were expecting at all. This is nothing like the meta that we're so used to. And these guys have been able to adapt to and really grown accustomed to being able to do these early play styles, these very early and aggressive kinds of compositions out here. And the man on the screen here, Maskill, whenever he got brought over onto this team, he has shown remarkable improvement for not just himself, but really for this team as a whole.
Yeah, whenever you have a jungle that can really get active early, as I mentioned, in this meta, if you can sort of shake it up and try to find that early pressure, it's going to throw everyone off, right? Because you're expecting, hey, I'm just going to go for my back camps, I'm going to go for a little bit of farm here and there, and then not really look to get aggressive. Maybe not even buy some wards because you're like, yeah, no one's even going to be showing that sort of aggression. But as you mentioned, Maskill, been trying to find those early kills, sort of shake up the meta, make people adhere to your play style. It's going to throw everyone off.
And he's one of the only junglers out here still kind of playing this Fenrir pick. Most of the teams have kind of dropped this god as a whole. I mean, he was so popular for support. We saw him a little bit in the jungle, but it really feels like not a whole lot of teams, except for Gilded Gladiators, are kind of going for this Fenrir pick. We'll see if Maskill brings that one back out today here. Picks and bans for game number 1 between the Mambo and the Gladiators, starting up right now. And also kind of with this EU team, one of the only things that they're doing, and I say them specifically as the region, is they're kind of foregoing this Medusa as a first pick. We're going so far as to saying that EU are willing to first pick Heimdall over any god, Trelly.
I mean, Heimdall's just extremely safe. Yeah, I mean, the EU circuit, they love this Heimdall pick. You don't really have to step up to the lane, but no one's going to get to play it this time. It is banned away pretty much immediately, making sure that no one is going to get that level of safety. But both of these teams right now, when Daji and Cleo and Bastet are banned, they prioritize the chalk in the jungle. And right now, we're seeing all that but Bastet, so we'll have to see if that's going to be a pick that either of these teams want to go for. Maskill and Johnny both are liking this jungle that I've been calling it recently. It's just, I mean, the rise of chalk as well as Cthulhu. Both of these solo laners love the Cthulhu as well. So smart pick by the Gladiators, taking that one away from Deathwalker.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of gone back to this, pseudo guardian solo lane over there. We still do have a few of those warriors kind of taking themselves over, and a couple of assassins here and there, depending on which ones you get over there. But it will be Cthulhu and then Medusa over here on the side of Hex Mambo. So you're going to make sure to get their dual lane Hunter out of the way very early on. But as far as the bans are concerned, I mean, the Sobek, a direct shot at Trix Tank, one of the only players out there in the league currently playing that god. The Nemesis has been kind of on the rise as of recent. A lot of teams have been putting a lot of stock into this god, especially players like French Emperor over here in the EU region. He's really liked this one. Haven't really seen Maskill or Johnny necessarily go for this pick too much, but still seems to be a big threat.
Just making sure that that pick's not available, even if they want to try to pick it. But Mulan, there's only one person that I could think of in not just the EU CC, not you, that just any league right now that is playing Mulan, that's Deathwalker in the solo lane. He likes to go by this pick because usually you can win lane with it. Not the best, not very safe, but if you're ahead, you don't have to really worry about that. So we're going to have to see how that matchup works into Cthulhu, because right now Cthulhu pretty much is getting pressure on everyone that we've seen, at least in the solo lane. Persephone, sort of a no-brainer here, just so much damage. If Thoth is taken away, probably one of the next best options, barring maybe a Zeus. So just a whole lot of damage in that mid lane already.
Yeah, I think you're right to bring up that Deathwalker's the only person doing this Mulan. He was running this last season, even when it's still not good, and then she got buffed, and then he was still running it because, well, I was already doing it, now she's better. Might as well just go back with it here. And even after some of the stuff that's, hit her kit throughout time, really does feel like Deathwalker's only going towards this. Khepri and Thoth, though, on the side of the Gilded Gladiators, and Persephone now for Hex Mambo. So we got our mid laners rounded out here. And with the Medusa kind of locked away here, or banned out, we do see no Hunter bans. Instead, it's 3 jungle bans and a Bacchus. Thanatos, of all things, kind of banned away here. A little surprising to me, Trelly.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the first time I think I've seen Thanatos banned, but you have the Khepri. You don't want to get it executed. You don't want that Scarab's Blessing to get canceled out. So I think it makes a little bit of sense. They're not really wanting to, worry about that at the moment. But that leaves the jungle open, and I think both of these teams are still possibly trying to pick it. Obviously, they're holding off on their jungle picks here, so we'll have to see what they go with. Unless, of course, for some reason they're flexing that Mulan, but as we've mentioned, Deathwalker is the only person who's picking it right now, so I've got my sights set on the soul lane for that pick. Now the Gilded Gladiators, they have their last 2 here. Really just trying to round out right now. They have 2 Guardians, so they need some physical damage here. And it looks like Set is going to be pick number 1.
Yeah, Set over here, potentially for the jungle on the side of the Gladiators, and with the Hou-Yi locked in, then that will solidify that pick over there. So very telltale of what the roster is. Now, if this was some other teams, maybe besides Hex Mambo, I could see the flexibility maybe with that Mulan, but Mulan has never really struck me as a Johnny god. Johnny likes those all-in, get-in-your-face assassins, those burst damage kind of gods here. So this Bastet as the final pick makes a lot of sense. It's one you were talking about a little bit earlier. We've seen some hits to Bastet, but it seems that some players still really hold some value with her.
Yeah, as long as Bastet is open, no one's going to ban her away. You didn't pick her immediately, so the Gilded Gladiators didn't think to ban it away in the second phase, making sure that Thanatos to shut down the execute and then Bacchus. So Bastet does sneak her way through here, and we'll have to see how active you're able to get early with Bastet.
Yeah, well, let's see how active Hex Mambo can get. See if they can bring themselves to a 2-2 record in the standings for this week. But let's jump into game number 1 with the Gilded Gladiators and Hex Mambo to see who can come out with the early advantage in this set. As I said, it's Jim McTrelly here on the desk and the cast for game number 1, set number 1. And we got Doug with us today as well to bring us all the action. Maskill on this set, it's a pick we don't see very often anymore. And for a good bit of time, I mean, we were really only seeing the set going over to the duo lane. But there are still a few junglers who like to kind of peek their head in this god.
Yeah, I will say I feel like Set does a pretty solid into the Cthulhu specifically. As long as you can heal during that Descent into Madness, you can try to get a lot of those Set clones out. But this time around, you got the Cthulhu on your team, so it's going to be hard. But I feel like you can probably pressure out Deathwalker pretty easily in this lane, right? Mulan doesn't even have an escape until she's able to level up her third ability, so will be pretty easy to gank in that regard. And Deathwalker picked up the teleport. No sort of beads for the slows of the CC from Cthulhu, so I imagine to see some action in that solo lane.
Yeah, we're seeing identical starts for both these teams, so it seems that a lot of teams have finally adapted this new style of start. I can't even really call it new because this is something that Sada Dragon over in NA kind of started up, and then we started seeing NA follow the trend, and now we're seeing EU kind of follow this start up here, so identical across the board. The only difference here so far is that the Gladiators have rotated Maskill out of the solo lane much earlier than Hex Mambo have. Johnny's going to stick around with Deathwalker for at least the remainder of that wave.
Yeah, both of these solo laners did pick up the teleport, so they're going to have to be very careful in this lane, right? You can get poked out, teleport back in, that sort of thing, but you really have to worry about you don't have beads up or anything like that. No CC immunity till level 5, so both of these junglers have some decent kill potential. Just make sure you're warding up and things like that. But now I'm looking at the mid lane matchup again. Thoth going to be outranging this Persephone pretty much all game, so I think Zeros is right to sit sort of back at that tower line right now, just farming effectively.
As far as the dual lane is concerned, though, we do see slightly different starts up here. Toddy going with the stacking start early on, Devour's Gauntlet along with the Gilded Arrow, so a little bit of extra gold in the pocket if he can find some of those last hits, which is going to be good for whenever he does need to get last hits for those stacks coming up later on. Opposite side there, Ikram is still sticking with the more standard traditional start that we've been seeing with that Death's Toll and that likely Crusher start.
Yeah, it really depends right now because Medusa just uses it so well, right? You have so many abilities that proc the Crusher. You want to make sure, because Medusa's going to win that early lane anyway, so you want to just make sure you're getting as much damage as possible. Whereas, I don't think that Toddy is worried so much about the 1v1. You probably just want to sit in lane and get your stacks online. But also, no one really wants to fight Medusa unless you have like a gank or something.
No, I've seen what a Medusa can do firsthand, even at level 3 with, again, only a single mace and a Death's Toll. I've seen the damage output that god can have, and not many times I would want to ever box in a 1v1 up against them. I even want like a 3v2 to try and fight up against that god. No way you're going to catch me trying to get some early boxing up there. But as far as these early starts are concerned, I mean, you have this set going up against the Bastet. We know Bastet, once she hits level 5, that's kind of the call for that one. Where do you kind of feel that Maskill needs to kind of put that priority to try and get himself ahead of Johnny?
Well, as we mentioned in the duo lane, right? I mean, most of these duo lanes are used to playing like kind of laid back, kind of sitting back, not really getting too active. So I think if you can get tricks off his game early, maybe try to find some ganks in that regard, because as you mentioned, that ult is going to be your target point, right? So if you're looking at Rotwin right now, does have the beads available. If you want to get your duo lane out to a heavy start, that could be an option, but you have to get those beads down right now. 4 beads on the side of Gilded Gladiators. Your only target at the moment, I mean, it's got to be Lystemix, right, on Cthulhu.
Yeah, as luckily for Lystemix, if he can at least hear it or maybe spot it coming from a little bit further out, he can use that ultimate for CC immunity so he doesn't get pulled in. Trix Tank wrapping behind, finds the root, stunned just off the mark, as Toddy's able to leap right over that one. So nice little play there out of the Hunter. We'll make sure that he doesn't eat too much CC. But over to the solo lane, the Deathwalker versus Lystemix matchup, now with level 5 on the Cthulhu. CC immunity is available to him. And we're going to see that 5 just a little bit sooner out of this Cthulhu because Lystemix has gotten free farm essentially from wave number 1, where Deathwalker's been splitting a lot of his farm over here with Johnny.
Yeah, well, that's sort of the issue, right? Where you want to help your solo laner out, you want to give him some pressure, but also you're sapping a little bit of farm, and that could hurt them in the long run here. But not too bad at the moment. Johnny is going to find a little bit of a gank here. The teleport away could get a beads.
Ultimate Off the mark, though, by Johnny. Will not find Soto, so the mid laner gets to hold on to his beads. And Maskill, who didn't have ult, also gets to save onto that one, too. So, first ult attempt by Johnny. Gonna whiff a little bit to the side there, but at least trying to get active. And that's the thing we always ask out of Bastet players and players, and God specifically, with high CC is, even if you're not hitting anything, or even if you're just getting a set of beads, throw out that ultimate, see what you can get out of it.
Yeah, I just find it funny that we see the Bastet ult miss so much, even at like this high level of play, that it's not even like a phase anymore. Like if we saw a Kraken miss, we'd be like, whoa, what are you doing? But Huntress of Bass miss, it's a hard ability to hit. Go get him next time, you know? It's a little bit too bad you didn't get a Soto's beads, but the Thoth in the mid lane probably going to be playing a little bit safer now. Probably staying, look right back at that tower line at the moment, but Trix is wrapping around again. They already hit level 5 in this duo lane, so could be some kill potential here if they find some stuns.
You know, it's the old saying, you know, if I go, I'd rather go 0-30 than 0-9, because it means I stopped if I only went 0-9 or whatnot there. So keep trying for those shots, Johnny. Eventually you'll get one of them here in this game. Duo lane pressure does go over to Trixtang and E-Chrome, as they're able to steal away that offering camp and get their obelisk stacked up pretty far, too. It's already sitting at a halfway point there, and with another offering, that'll get it just a little bit further up. So Mambo, in this early game, have been able to not really amass so much a lead for themselves in the goal, but at least be able to get that offering pressure.
Yeah, I'm curious about Deathwalker's build. The Genji's guard start trying to get that cooldown online to spam abilities, but I'm wondering, you know, how are you going to build into some sort of hybrid build? Because Mulan with just base damage isn't going to do too much right now. Usually, you want to see like the Blackthorn hammers, that sort of thing, so you get a little bit of power into the build. Because of course, Lystemix is building into that helmet, so there's going to be some power and some defense. I think it's going to be hard for this Mulan to exist in lane without a little bit, so we'll have to see how he chooses to itemize. Maybe a Soul Eater or something like that, but I think Deathwalker specifically just wants to be as tanky as possible. I think he recognizes right now he's probably the easiest kill on Hex Mambo.
Well, he's going to have to realize that. A good ultimate will immune out. Johnny's there. Quick timing by the Soul Lane on the Gladiators. And that was what we were talking about earlier. The only target that doesn't have beads that Johnny could go for would be Lystemix. But Lystemix spotted that just in time. The CC chain not quite full enough there. I think maybe he was expecting like an extra quarter second off of that grapple in order to be able to get that pull onto Lystemix there. But quick timing on the ultimate. We'll get the Soul Laner out for now. He'll finally now head back to base, and we'll pick up that Celestial Legion helm, that typical, more physical startup that we've been seeing out of the Magical Gods.
Yeah, man, now going into a breastplate as well, so going to be even tankier against that physical jungle. But Rawin has to beat pretty early on here, and Trix is going to let the Khepri back up off that. Getting the beads is quite the win, I would say. You have so much CC on this Hex Mambo roster, so making sure that Khepri, one of the biggest targets, not just in the map, in the game, really, is the not having beads. That's going to be pretty solid, and you can get a lot of lockdown on that, as Gilded Gladiators are sort of stepping up to these mid camps, but recognizing, you know, we don't want to fight this right now.
Johnny's walking around, kind of lurking through the jungle, but still a little ways off until his ult is back up. And now he's got another target. He's got not just Lystemix over here in the Soul Lane, but now has this Khepri on call for at least another 2 minutes before that pull will be able to go through there. Maskill's been very quiet so far in the jungle, just sticking up to the farming game more than anything else. Has a Jotun's Wrath online, so going to be able to get those skewers, those Kingslayers up just a little bit sooner during these fights. Same thing for Johnny, going for that Jotun's Wrath. Going to be able to have that ultimate up sooner than Lystemix should have it, but I think he used it right before he ended up taking a trip back to base to pick up that item. So Lystemix has a very small window for Johnny to be able to grab him now, but gotta imagine Rotwin is the ideal call.
Yeah, I love that Trix has opted for the blink here. We're going to see a lot of aggression out of this Terra pick, which we usually don't see, right? Terra sort of sits back, maybe looks for the clap, trying to find some stuns wherever she can, but a blink in, that's going to be very aggressive. But that's sort of Trix's playstyle, right? Whenever we see this Hex Mambo roster, whether winning or losing, we usually see Trix way too far up, and he's either making plays or getting killed, but either way, it's fun to watch. So I'm going to have to see how effective this blink Terra play will be. At the moment, I mean, you're finding Rotwin's beads, so that, you know, you're already seeing some aggression from this Terra. I just have to see, you got about, what, 70-second window here. What will you look for in that mid lane?
Let's see at least where Johnny's eyes are going to be going. He hasn't made a move yet since his ultimate has come back online. Heading over towards this left side of the mid. Could make for a flank around here, but I mean, Rotwin's beads are going to be back off cooldown in just 50 seconds. So that window to grab the support is slowly closing out, but Johnny looping very far in, and Sotos peppering out a lot of damage up against Zeros. I mean, this is just the nature of Thoth at this point there. Sotos will dash away from Johnny. And you got a couple of those hieroglyphic shots from him as well. But Johnny looping back over to the mid camp. I thought maybe that was the point to get aggressive, to get some extra action going. But for now, Hex Mambo will just stick to the farm game.
We're going to see a greater Scorpion invade at the very least, so trying to get a little bit aggressive in that regard. The Oracles will go the way of Hex Mambo, so a little bit of vision on their side as well if they do want to try an early gold pull. They have some burn. Like, they definitely have a lot of damage on E-Chrome. You know, they have a lot of damage in that regard, but best burst on the map, gotta be Final Judgment. So as long as Sotos is healthy and near that Gold Fury, I can't imagine they'll go for any sort of pull like that. And because Trix didn't go for the Frenzy, has the Blink, that's gonna hurt your Shred game just a little bit. So I don't think anything too crazy will be happening just yet. About a 1k gold lead for Hex Mambo's E-Chrome, getting wrapped around here by Rotwin.
Just off the mark though, and a Petrify to immune the pull back in off of that Abduct. That's an ult down from E-Chrome, but Beads still there. And still will be safe on that Medusa, just with a little bit less CC to their name at the very least. Trixtake will rotate back over towards that dual lane. And going for a tier 2 in the Adventurer Blade tree. Curious as to what this item is actually going to build itself into.
Yeah, there are going to be a few options here. It really just depends on what you're trying to build. On the other side, though, Toddy is also going for that Dev Gloves into, I can only assume, Atalanta's bow start. So just trying to get some, not only lifesteal, but some crit and some attack speed online. So trying to match some of that Medusa pressure with the abilities, but this is more of an auto attack based build. As Mifflin always says, even if Hoyu's a little bit behind, the 1v1 potential is always there. If you can get a crazy ricochet, drop the Suns, your fight potential will always be pretty solid in that lane. So it just really depends on if you're able to find that. But looking at the jungles right now, Tier 2 Transcendence for Maskill right now, trying to stack up as much damage as possible, but Johnny just goes for the Brawler's Bead Stick, recognizing they have a fair bit of healing just in Set's kit, you know, Kingslayer, Graves, a lot of healing. You want to try to counter that out as quickly as possible, so I think that's a smart itemization there for Johnny.
Yeah, going back to Hoyu, nothing quite humbles you like getting triple bounced in your in the jungle during a 1v1 kind of matchup there, and that's always kind of that talk about, you know, when he can get that fight back is if you can find those pretty nice bounces out there. But Johnny's been very quiet on the map. He's thrown out 2 of those ultimates so far. One of them ended up connecting onto a CC immune target who timed it just in time. The other one has been a miss so far. But we have only seen 2 ultimates from this Bastet in the 10.5 minutes. But now the rotation towards this left side could be ready for a third one. A jump away by Toddy, Johnny, and E-Chrome here. The Cat will tank up, but Mambo will not continue into the Tier 1 tower. Still no kills on the board yet, 11 minutes in.
Yeah, you say we've only seen 2 ults from the Bastet, but that's the only ult we've really seen. We saw E-Chrome throw out a Petrify just to sort of survive, and one descent into madness. There hasn't been too much action at the moment, and that's sort of just the EU style right now, but it looks like, nope. I was going to say maybe Maskill tries to throw a gank over your Deathwalker's way as Listemic is just really getting poked out here, just a little bit of damage onto this Cthulhu, but it looks like Maskill knows that Deathwalker's ult is down. They might try to chase this here. We'll have to see if Deathwalker's in a dangerous situation, but now they're just going for the blue buff ender. They're not even worried.
Well, it's going to be a 3 versus 2 down here as long as Listemic sticks around, but a half HP on this Cthulhu. Teleport still down. Grapple will close that distance, but now with Johnny joining in, it's a 3v3. I don't think the Gilded Gladiators are willing to try and stick around for. It'll be a blue buff invade going the way of Hex Mambo. And as we've seen so far with just all these tiny little skirmishes, Hex Mambo have been able to up this gold lead to the tune of about 1,300. We'll add another 500 here with this Pyromancer going down. So despite the fact that we've seen 0 kills and very little action outside of your typical solo lane shenanigans, Hex Mambo have been able to just efficiently farm more than the Gladiators have so far.
Those were some shenanigans, weren't they, J-Mac? Now looking at the mid lane, we see the double flat pen build. Pretty run-of-the-mill for both of these mid laners, obviously. I think Thoth benefits just a little bit more from it at the moment just because of that built-in flat pen in the passive, but still. Zeros has a lot of damage built in his own right, and then as I mentioned, I was curious to see where Deathwalker would go. Looks like Glad Shield is going to be the option, so we'll give him a little bit of damage as well as protections and cooldowns. So Deathwalker really just wants to spam abilities as much as possible, as we saw. Just trying to level up those abilities, ulting through waves, making sure your training exercises are completed. That's really where Mulan is going to shine. Once those abilities evolve, or level up, so to speak, you get those second added passives, and that's really what's going to help you out a ton in the lane, and especially once you start rotating in. And it looks like, oh, we see a blink here.
Blink, but a dash by Sotos, and that will make sure that there's more than enough distance thanks to the help of that little glyph wall there. Some extra range. Johnny goes in. Doesn't like to throw the ultimate up against Toddy. Just eats a couple of auto attacks and walks away. And I mean, Toddy had already used the leap. It would have been a perfect opportunity to try and get those beads there, but Johnny not going to pull the trigger on that ultimate just yet. 13 minutes in, still only a couple of Hunters of Bass thrown out there, and not much anywhere else. I mean, I think we've seen as many blinks from Trickstank as we've seen ultimates from Johnny.
Yeah, at this point, I think that's just the play style that you have to go with when you know that Rotwin's nearby. Do you want to go for the 50-50, just get Scarab's Blessing, but then you've committed so much? Are you still able to get a kill? And that point, Johnny says, you know what, I don't even want to throw out the ult to get the Scarab's Blessing, because more often than not, getting that ult off cooldown is a win, right? You get the Scarab's Blessing down, even if you don't get the kill, you can come back. This time around, Johnny says, I'm not even going to waste it at this point. I'm going to save it as Deathwalker is 1v3 at this blue buff right now, but does not really care.
No, with Johnny rotating over, it'll be a root onto Sotos, a quick dash out. But Deathwalker goes in, finds the root with the ultimate, gets the beads and the Aegis out of the mid laner. And that, surprisingly, might be the most impactful use of an ult we've seen so far this entire game out of anybody here, and it could result in a kill on Sotos. No beads, no Aegis means the first death of the game will go on to Sotos, but it'll go to the hands of Trickstank to support Terra. Coming up first for Hex Mambo for the first blood, but maybe Johnny in danger, pulling with the abduct, gets the beads off of Johnny. Maskill goes in, but immediately into the ultimate out of Zero's a perfect timing on there. And with the ultimate now out of the Khepri, giving Maskill a little bit of extra movement. It's not going to be enough to get him out of there. He'll have to scrape himself out. Plastimic's up, descent into the madness, finds a knock him onto a couple, but Zeros finds Rotwin in the midst of all of it. Hex Mambo have come up with 2.
That's a huge play for Hex Mambo, even behind the tier 2 tower, making sure to find that first pick. And then you stay just a little bit too long. Unfortunately, Rotwin wanted to save Maskill there, wanted that Kingslayer damage to get off. The Scarab's Blessing came out. Maskill did leave, but you left your support high and dry. Rotwin falls as well as Sotos, and I think that all starts from Deathwalker getting beads and Aegis onto Sotos with just the ult. I mean, I feel like Thoth probably could have eaten the brunt of that damage, but maybe thought, hey, that Bastet could be wrapping around. I want to be as careful as possible. And then you get dove underneath your tier 2 tower at that point. So unfortunate. You used a lot of ultimates and relics really for no gain, and now Hex Mambo has quite the lead. I'd be amazed if they don't look towards Gold Fury here soon when you don't have 2 relics on Thoth.
Yeah, I mean, they're sitting up 4K right now on the side of Hex Mambo, and you can already see the group up around this Gold Fury. Echrome will turn around the corner and win the ward battle up against Toddy for now, stripping that one away, getting rid of some of that vision. Rotwin locked inside, the Grasp of Death hits the wall, but that's enough to keep this Khepri down with no ultimate to his name. There's no way to get out. The Hunters of Bats to lock him down, and Echrome to finish the job with a Viper shot right after. Hex Mambo quickly have put 3 now on the board after an early dry spell of kills.
And they're still not ready to go for that Gold Fury. Even up 5v4 right now, playing as safe as possible. Take a look at the farm game, though. I mean, right now, Echrome's level 17 at 16 minutes. That's pretty massive, especially in this duo lane where not much action has happened. Even 17 before that kill. Looks like Trix does have the blink available. Might try to force something out of Toddy here. Just the jump. No sort of relics need to be used at the moment. As we see Maskill might be looking over here at Deathwalker on the opposite side.
Deathwalker has already used the grapple, used his heal now with that spear thrust, so there'll be a root in place on the Deathwalker to get the ultimate out of him. The Divine Mastery's now down on this Mulan, but with 2 people over on the solo lane side, it opens up the Gold Fury. Toddy, though, will spot it out, but he'll be spotted out rotating up in. Sotos still without Relic for another 10 seconds. We'll have to be careful in this mid 2v2 matchup. But at least for now, the Hex Mambo do pull away from the Gold Fury.
Yeah, and the teleport is only available right now for Deathwalker, so if there is a Gold Fury pull, the solo lane will be able to get there quicker, especially if you want to upgrade it and teleport to a ward. They have that option available. Deathwalker looks to be going into the Void Shield here, so trying to stop some of that physical protection. I mean, whenever I see Cthulhu's go into this build, I'm like, who is killing you right now? I mean, you have the Legion Helm, the Breastplate, the Oni Hunters. I mean, that's just so much protection and mitigation there. It's going to be very difficult, and I think Echrome recognizes that pretty much immediately and says, I'm getting this kin size online ASAP. No sort of crit. It's not going to help me into Hou Yi, really, and especially when I want to shred down this very HP heavy target as well as the protections. I need Silver Branch, and I need kin size online ASAP.
Yeah, that seems to always be the call going up against these Cthulhus. It's not often we see crit anymore going up against him specifically. You really do need to warrant as much HP shred as you can out here. So the kin size followed up into that same tree like you were saying, Silver Branch. The next item up for Echrome. But we are seeing the opposite as far as Toddy is concerned. He does go for the crit. Johnny goes to the leap in, gets the ultimate to get the beads off of Sotos. Turnaround final judgment will fire. That'll slam Johnny for half his health. The Scarab's Blessing will make sure to keep Sotos alive, and Sotos will turn it back around and take down Johnny, who walked back into the middle of 4.
Deathwalker's on the blue buff right now. Lastemix has made the rotation over. They have the numbers advantage by a lot, but it looks like Hex Mambo are not too scared right now. They're not going to run completely. They're going to show face at this Gold Fury, letting you know if you are going to try to go for this, we are not afraid. E-Chrome, level 19. You want to make sure E-Chrome is around this Cthulhu right now, and it looks like they're going to go for it.
They're going to get around the area at the least, see who will step forward. E-Chrome does ricochet off the mark, but the threat of it alone is enough to get the beads off of the Medusa. Lastemics now into the back line. Dashes up against two. Descents into madness. And a root from Rotwin will lock Tricks Tank in place. E-Chrome is low. E-Chrome not quite down yet. One more swipe will be the job there. Isotus gets the credit for that kill. Deathwalker used the ult. Finds a triple knockup on the tail end of it. Grapple only locks down Rotwin. The knockup will get the beads from the solo later. But Deathwalker goes down. And it's Toddy who comes up with the kill. And now the Gilded Gladiators, who were down nearly 5,000 gold earlier, have closed this one up and now sitting only 3K down.
It's a 5v3 right now, but Trix is still pretty healthy and sort of looking around this Gold Fury, so it looks like the Gladiators are not able to pull right now, especially because Zeros did not really even rotate into that fight, just kind of threw the ult down, kept pushing mid-wave, so making sure to get a little bit more farm and not actually help out has actually been a benefit here. Because the health bars were so high, they weren't able to pull that Gold Fury just yet, and despite the numbers advantage, it looks like Lastemics is coming back, so they're going to go for it now in this point, but your lead is pretty much gone at this point. You're going to have to still fight into two healthy members. It's going to be a 50-50, but you have Final Judgment on your side, so this should go the way of the Gladiators.
Final Judgment should be the easy, kind of secure here on the side of the Gladiators. That will be charged up by Sotos, and that one will go down to the Gilded Gladiators. So finally, able to grab the first major neutral objective aside from that one Pyromancer earlier on now. So the Gilded Gladiators able to continue closing up that gold lead, only 2,000. Now separate these two teams, but 4,600 experience. Still nothing to scoff at here. The Hex Mambo do still have at least a decent lead in that. One level almost across the board everywhere except for the jungle is the only spot where we see it at least even.
Yeah, looking at Trix's build, the Wing Blade into the Lotus Crown, so that's going to help out the squad a lot more so late game when you're getting healed up, getting those extra protections. I mean, this is really Terra's benefit, right? She has a lot of aggression where she can dash in a few times, get some stuns, some roots, things like that, but you also can heal up your whole squad. You do that tick damage onto the enemy. It's going to be pretty solid there, so if Trix is able to help out in these team fights, I think they'll be able to use this lead pretty well in the XP department, as we were mentioning. The gold, still their favor, but not as big as it was because of that Gold Fury and the fact that they sort of threw that team by just a wee bit. I think E-Chrome getting caught out pretty much immediately once the ricochet was off the mark, but having to use the bead, Lastemics blinks in. It's so easy to get to Medusa once that dashes down, especially if you're able to body block it. So trying to play a little bit safer, probably the name of the game here for Hex Mambo. They realize, hey, we almost threw there. Let's try to dial it back a little bit. Maybe look at Pyromancer here, just try to climb this lead a little bit more.
Kind of that last little fight, we got to see some little highlights as to what good a Mulan can do. I mean, that triple knockup off the ultimate from Deathwalker could have set up a lot of damage for someone like Zeros or E-Chrome if E-Chrome was still there, but unfortunately, a little too late there. But I mean, if you're looking at the damage chart here, Deathwalker sitting well at the top. Next highest one, closest to him, is like nearly 4,000 damage away. So Deathwalker's been able to put a lot of damage out in these fights. So far, just hasn't been able to really convert him over to any kills just yet.
Yeah, right now the Mulan is pretty much just going in, trying to set up as much as possible and hope the team is there to follow up. This time around, like I mentioned, I don't think Zeros really wanted to commit to that fight once he saw his teammates sort of fall a little bit early. So not really wanting to follow up with Deathwalker there. Just a little bit unfortunate. But again, as we mentioned, the lead is still there. They really don't have to worry too much about that. They get the tier 1 tower in the left. It's just the first Gold Fury. I know this game feels like that's all the action there was because that really all there was. In general, that was the only real big team fight that we've seen, and it goes the way of the Gilded Gladiators. But Hex Mambo have been making sure to keep their farm game up, their pressure strong, and their XP lead in their favor.
And so far, being that was the only real team fight, Gilded Gladiators have had the advantage here. Chola, does that kind of give the illusion here that Hex Mambo, even with all of this early lead, when it comes to these fights, that maybe they don't have the most potent one? Does the Gilded Gladiators just have the better team fight as a whole?
I think, again, it just started because E-Chrome had to use the beats so early on. Deathwalker didn't make the rotation, so Lastemics just had a much bigger impact in that fight. I don't think that it's just saying Hex Mambo can't team fight. They were just in a bad position at the moment, and they still sort of tried to show face when they were a man down. And then, again, losing your Medusa beats and dash before the fight even starts is going to be pretty problematic. So I don't think Hex Mambo have to worry too much as long as they're able to 5v5 effectively. Deathwalker at this point has a lot of tank stats online and has the teleport almost fully upgraded, so we'll be able to match that pressure of Lastemics in this late game, and the fact that you're not fighting on the left side of the map anymore. You're fighting on the right side of the map near this Pyromancer and this FG that they are now pulling.
Fire Giant started up here. Lastemics will walk in towards the pit, but will be spotted out immediately. A blink taken away from the solo laner. A lot of initiation now gone from the side of Lastemics, who has opted for now a third physical defense on him. So we go beyond that Celestial Legion Helm in the breastplate. Now we throw a Hide of the Nemean line in there and has a couple of block stacks on it already. So gonna be hard for these carries to actually really deal a whole lot of damage to Lastemics.
Yeah, at this point, the percentage pen tree is going to help you out a ton. The Silver Branch is going to go a long way. The Serrated Edge, that's going to help out the team a ton right now because, I mean, I mentioned the Legion Helm and the Breastplate has a lot of tank stats, but now you have the Nemean, the Blood-Soaked Shroud. Lastemics is going to be an absolute tank in every sense of the word, but the Gilded Gladiators are 5 strong here up against this Fire Giant. They're not really pushing up. They're not going to defend this Tier 1 tower, but Lastemics will get stunned out here. And look how much damage he took. Not a lot.
You know, maybe 5–10% at best from a not really full combo there from Johnny. At least the pound's not used in. Deathwalker does get pulled back by Rodwin, eats a stun and eats a crit after. And so the solo laner and the frontliners in general eating quite a bit of poke here. A good root will get the ultimate out of this Mulan. Deathwalker now forced to retreat back to the Tier 1 tower. Though teleport is back up, so Deathwalker can get right back in this fight, lickety-split.
Yeah, Deathwalker had the beads, but thought to maybe use the ult in that time. Maybe they're not really worried right now about the engage of the Gilded Gladiators. Just trying to get a pick before the Fire Giant, but as long as you use that ultimate and sort of stall, it'll be back up before anything really happens here. Oni Fury will be spawning shortly, and it looks like that might be the next contention point. They are sort of posturing towards the left side of the map, the Gilded Gladiators, but Hex Mambo, they have their ADC at FG right now and the ward coverage besides that one little ward right by Deathwalker right now. So if they see Oni Fury pulled, they're going to go right for FG, and they've recognized it immediately.
Fire Giant already started up. It's Deathwalker and E-Chrome in the pit right away. Deathwalker does miss the pull on Lastemics, who also misses the mire on just about everybody. But that threat alone is enough for the Fire Giant to be dropped by the Chaos team here. Hex Mambo playing very slow around this pit and making sure they don't accidentally overcommit to the objective. Rodwin caught on the wrong side of the wall. Will not get pulled in by the grapple, but will get stunned out and forced to use his beads there. So that's a big relic now down on the side of the frontliner, on the side of the Gilded Gladiators, but still has that shell active, still has that one ready for the fight.
Yeah, Rodwin is usually the frontliner here in these fights, so getting that beads down before the engage even starts is going to be huge for Hex Mambo. If they are able to capitalize and CC chain this Khepri, they should have some success here as Maskill gets the ward and dashes away. Sort of just a face check right now. As we mentioned, that Oni Fury is up, but either team right now, if they put too much stock into that Oni Fury, if they really try too hard to get it, that Fire Giant on the opposite side of the map is going to be a lot more worth in that case. So making sure that no one really rotates over to that left side of the map. But Maskill is over there right now. Maybe looking to 1v1 Johnny in that mid lane. I don't think either one of them too confident on who's going to win that.
No, they're just going to both back each other away here. It'll be just minion wave clear out between the two of them. An elongated Fire Giant dance out of Hex Mambo as they continue to hover this right side with a couple players not here, though. Nobody really going to want to pull this one. The Gladiators can, though. There is a ward right in the middle of the pit. That one's going to have to be cleared away by Lastemics if possible. He will be able to get it. Root will once again get the ultimate out of Deathwalker. It's the second time now that he's had to use that one defensively just off a single CC coming out of Rotwin.
Yeah, Rotwin's bead's still on an 80-second timer, though, so both of these tanks are going to have a little bit of trouble here. Soto's just putting out a lot of damage. But again, no one really feels confident enough to pull this FG right now. They're all pretty close to each other going out poke, but neither. If it was me, I think Trix is going to be the initiator here, but it looks like Zeros is going to fire off an ult.
Yeah, Zeros will hold on to that at least, and the final judgment clips through the back. Zeros down to a quarter HP, chased out by Maskill and E-Chrome, forces to petrify. The two go down instantly, and a third on the way as Lastemics takes down E-Chrome. It's only Deathwalker and Johnny left in this fight, but Johnny is so far away from everybody. He does still have that ultimate. Will he fire it off? The answer is going to be no. 3 down on Hex Mambo. And the Gladiators can finally go for a Fire Giant pull.
Lastemics backs, but has a teleport available. Maskill still in base at the moment, too. And Deathwalker and Johnny pretty healthy at this point. The Fire Giant is going down very slow. They don't have Final Judgment anymore. They have a little bit of time on that real solid secure, so it looks like they might just continue the dance until they can try and look for a pick here. They're going to pull it again, but Johnny's in mid lane.
Yeah, Toddy will have a decent bit of damage now with this crit online, hitting for almost 400 in auto when those crits do start slamming through, and that's the nature of having that triple crit for himself. The Fire Giant will go down here to the Gilded Gladiators. No one on the side of Hex Mambo can get in time to stop that one. So finally, After about 6 or so minutes of dancing around this objective, Gilded Gladiators are finally able to drop the one down and completely close up that lead. Hex Mambo all this time was still holding on to that golden XP lead.
Yeah, now they get to go for the Oni Fury pretty much for free. They have this Fire Giant where they can choose where to push, but when you have to defend those Oni minions, it's going to get really annoying. I mean, we've seen the towers that Hex Mambo were able to get, but there's still 2 Tier 1 towers for the Gilded Gladiators on top of all of the Tier 2, so that's going to be a lot of gold on the map that the Gladiators are able to get. I think you mentioned it pretty early on here because the Gladiators, they won the one team fight at that first Gold Fury. Does that just make Hex Mambo's team fight worse? I thought no, but as we witnessed there, a massive final judgment as well as that huge engage, I think that makes the Gilded Gladiators team fight a lot easier, especially if you aren't able to relic that. I mean, the Aegis was just a little bit late there, so unfortunate. Zeros and E-Chrome, you weren't able to dodge that one out. So now the Gilded Gladiators have all the pressure, and it's really, really difficult to sit underneath a tower and try to defend when you have a Thoth doing this much damage at your tower line.
Look, man, if I've learned anything in my time in SMITE, it's that you can't be holding hands in a tiny corridor with a god like Thoth on the other end of that hallway there. I mean, one final judgment is all it takes to rip through there, and one good bounce out of Toddy ends up clipping through 2 or 3 different people there. E-Chrome meeting the tail end of the third bounce. Lystemix down half HP on the Cthulhu. We'll have to leap away here for the rest of the team. Tier 2 tower takes a lot of poke. The Tier 1 in right lane will go down to just the minions. Those Oni minions are starting to push up some of these waves. And now with one more wave coming through, Gilded Gladiators should be able to take this Tier 2 tower, maybe even the fight after. Lystemix into the back line, does have that ultimate, and will use the Descent to Madness. He'll find a knock him onto 2, but there shouldn't be any kill pressure here for the Gilded Gladiators, just creating some space for that Tier 2 to go down, and they'll make their retreat now. Lystemix hit with the cap, but he'll be just fine to dash out.
Yeah, the Oni minions are going in left and right now. I mean, Gilded Gladiators, they had to use so many beads just for that Tier 2 tower, so the fight after the fact, unfortunate because Sotos had a huge ult on the Zeros. They had a lot of pressure there, but not able to go for anything more than these Tier 2 towers, which is still a win in its own right. Like we mentioned, getting that gold is really what they're looking for here. They were able to get a ton from mid and right. They still have that Tier 2 tower in left if they so choose, but I mean, look at the relics right now. Obviously, Maskill had to use the beads, Sotos had to use the beads, even Rotwin had to use the beads, so you don't really want to take a team fight, especially underneath that Phoenix right now. Still, a lot of damage in their own right for Hex Mambo, so just climbing that gold lead a little bit more. The Gilded Gladiators have a ton of gold in hand, as you can see, so they are going to back up, get a few more items in, try to prepare at least for one more push, or the Enhanced Fire Giant that's going to be up shortly. They're going to lose this FG buff in about a minute.
Yeah, they got the one Tier 2 tower. If they decide to make that push there, we have seen teams even go beyond the FG buff just to make sure they can get at least a tower. But Phoenix might just be completely out of the question here, at least on the side of the Gladiators for this time being. They'll make their way up through that left side jungle. Rotwin will pick up the Interceptor that had just spawned down for them, so they'll be able to get their support buff, his nice little extra buff to himself. But taking a look at the builds across the board, I mean, Sotos is already fully 6-slotted. Maskill and Lystemix are 6-slotted. The only one who isn't fully built, at least on the side of the Gladiators, is going to be the support, just one item away from there. But it's not like Hex Mambo are too far behind. I mean, a couple of their players are already at their full builds as well, mostly just support and solo on the side of Mambo, who don't have that one. So in this next big team fight, should Mambo take it here at the Tier 2 or at that Fire Giant, who should they be looking to pick, Trelly?
I mean, you gotta look at Sotos right now. He is just doing way too much damage. If Hex Mambo want to try and win this fight, they need to either juke out this final judgment, Aegis it, or put some pressure onto this Thoth. They cannot let the Thoth free cast, and you're going to see why once these Hieroglyphic Assaults start clipping. But as we mentioned, that Fire Giant is gone, and they are still here at this Tier 2 tower. But it looks like they're not really ready to tank it up. They want to wait for the minions to try and get rid of some of those backdoor protections.
Sotos is trying to find some picks there, ends up getting pulled in by the grapple and dash out. Deathwalker goes into the backline, the sun's ready down, and Deathwalker goes down. Toddy, credit to the kill and the Scarce Blessing that makes sure that Sotos was able to get out of that fight, but that's a one-man pick already, though. Keep your eyes on Johnny standing in the jungle, but on top of 2 wards. No further push from the Gladiators to be a full retreat from the Order team. But Johnny is now closing in the gap with Maskill going back to base. It's going to make it a now 4 versus 4. Sotos at half HP. Toddy caught out by himself when I have to box up against 3. He's been isolated from the rest of his team. But Johnny is going in now by himself against 3. Toddy goes down, but Sotos goes down. Johnny managed to find 1 pick because everybody had left the mid laners alone. The carries of the Gladiators are down. but Maskill is able to respond back, find Johnny, and get a pick.
I don't understand what we just watched, J-Mac. I mean, the Gilded Gladiators could have stayed as 5 and backed up together. Maskill wanted to just, I guess, back, and then at that point they left Toddy to defend. I get they answered back with some picks, so it's not the biggest threat, but I feel like if they just stood together as 5, used Thought's damage to try to push them out, they could have survived together, but that was not the option, and they opted to just sort of split up and try to get back as quickly as possible. Maybe at this point you think you can still defend the EFG, so you're not worried about it, but I feel like they didn't have to give up any picks there. Unfortunate, though, because Rawin had a really nice Scarab's Blessing. Of course, Deathwalker got the pull on the Sodos at the beginning of that fight, which was massive. Gets poked out so much. And the Scarab's Blessing saves the day, and then they just sort of went through it. So now the EFG is being looked at here. You don't have that final judgment available. Sodos is just way too far, so it's going to be tough to try to defend this one.
Hex Mambo aren't doing a lot of damage to it. Instead, they're doing a lot of damage over to Rawin, who's barely going to make it through this fight. He won't be able to make it out, though. Zeros finds him with the grasp of death and Lystemics. Now down to half HP. Cancel that ultimate to get that dash a little bit sooner, but Echrome is here. Will dash in alongside Deathwalker to put down the solo laner. But now Deathwalker and Toddy stalks around the corner. The Petrify out of Echrome will clip Toddy and take him down. Now it's 3 gone on the side of the Gladiators, and the Mambo have all the pressure they need to go for fire.
Yeah, the ultimate is gone as well, so no final judgment to worry about. It's pretty much just how much damage is Hex Mambo going to take trying to get this, and the answer is, who cares? Because no one from the Gilded Gladiators are even going to step up to this. So Enhanced Fire Giant is about to go the way of Hex Mambo, which is much more impactful than that Fire Giant we saw previously. Of course, you do get a lot of towers and you climb some gold up, but right now this Enhanced Fire Giant is going to help you out so much if you're Hex Mambo. You shouldn't be worried about these tier 2 towers at all. Johnny, though, might be trying to find Mask Hill in the jungle.
I do see Sodos and Maskill, at least with the red buff. They'll be able to get that and back away. But now all the work that Gilded Gladiators did to close up that gold will be net neutraled here. After this EFG goes down and a couple of towers right after, Hex Mambo already setting up for the Phoenix. They got 4 seconds until Lystemics is back and a few more until he's back into the fight as he has just now respawned. This is Mambo's best chance to take down a Phoenix in a man advantage here. But with Echrome poked down to half HP, Mambo can't continue this push on the right-hand side. They'll back away for now. Could just be going back to grab that Pyro and then reset.
Yeah, just trying to get all the tier 2 towers, I think, the smarter play. Despite having the one-man lead in that fight, not wanting to dive that, the Phoenix just yet. Probably a smart call, even with Enhanced Fire Giant. At this point, if you overcommit just a little bit, you're 35 minutes into the game. Most of these towers are down. If just like 2 or 3 people die, you're pretty much throwing the game at that point. They can run it down mid and just reverse end on you. So, smart by Hex Mambo. They have a lot of veteranship on this squad, and they know we shouldn't go for this. We have the lead. Let's back, finish up our relics. We're upgrading our relics now. We're seeing these potions of power come through, which is going to help out a ton. Now we can get these last tier 2 towers, and then finally look for that end push right now. Looking at the damage charts, though, Sodos is still on top. It's not easy to push into Thoth at any point of the game, especially when Thoth is itemized this well. I mean, Sodos has a ton of damage right now. A final judgment still could shake up the way this Phoenix Siege goes. So making sure to put pressure into Thoth, I still think is going to be the name of the game. And Deathwalker doesn't have Blink, so it's going to be very difficult to get to this backline right now.
Yeah, it's going to be instead Heroic Teleport and a Temporal Beads out of Deathwalker, who's finished out his build with a Sledge, a very uncommon item. At least nowadays. There was a time where it was the Sledge meta. Everybody was changing their profile pictures to Sledge. Everybody's getting ready for that meta, but we haven't seen it in a while here. We'll see how it pans out for him as this next team fight around this left side Phoenix gets ready to shake up. Johnny will be in the mid lane to push out the last standing tier 2 tower, Maskill. Look how far back he is, wanting to find a loop around kill here. Maybe Echrome has sniffed this one out. Double stun by Trixang. Maskill goes in aggressive up against Zeros, pops the beats, pops the Aegis for Maskill at least. And Zeros jumps out into the background, but has now isolated himself as Toddy has to jump away. Maskill finds a pickup against Zeros, and Sodos eliminates Johnny. A final judgment will rip through the jungler. That's now 2 down on the side of Mambo. Lystemics dashed in aggressively to find Deathwalker. The root will get the beads out of the solo laner of Hex Mambo, but everyone on the Chaos team on the run.
I mean, yeah, they just left Zeros by himself. Unfortunate, Maskill's able to clean that one up after getting the relic. Sodos finds a massive ultimate on Johnny, and now Enhanced Fire Giant, it doesn't even matter at this point. You get it off 2 people. I still think there's a lot of damage to be had if you're Hex Mambo. I mean, it's not going to be the easiest siege of your life, but Gilded Gladiators, they're 5 strong going down mid right now, and I don't think they want this Phoenix. I think they want the Titan, so this is going to be an interesting one. If Hex Mambo is able to defend, they still have Petrify, a huge team fight ultimate.
It's 20 seconds until Zeros and Johnny are back in the fight. Deathwalker misses the grapple. Rotwin eating a lot of HP in the background. Petrify slams Lystemics, but Soto slams down Echrome in the backline. Hieroglyphic shots are enough to take him down. Rotwin with a slight heal back up from Lystemics to keep him up and healthy during this Phoenix siege. But that's going to be all the Gilded Gladiators go for. Now with the 2 carries of Mambo back up, it'll just be the Phoenix and now a retreat for the Order team.
Yeah, that is going to be the call here. No longer the FG buff is going to be that big of a play. 18 more seconds, so Hex Mambo doesn't really have that to lean on anymore. They lost their mid Phoenix, so the Gilded Gladiators back in the driver's seat here 40 minutes into this game, essentially. It sort of went back and forth, as we've mentioned. No one really has had that much of a lead, but the first Phoenix that goes down is going to be in that mid lane. It's an annoying one to try and defend, but it's also not the worst one at this point, so you get that benefit for you. Enhanced Fire Giant will be spawning here shortly. Rotwin gets the Magi's Blessing, which is going to help out a ton, because right now the beads on the Khepri has been the name of the game. Just trying to get that down ASAP so you can get that early lead in the fight and try to pick this large immobile target. So it's going to be difficult, but now Rotwin has the Interceptor and the Magi's Blessing.
A lot of HP to his name as well. Good lord. You can always tell how much HP they have. Not like immediately, obviously, like you can't physically look at them and go, yeah, he's got X amount of health. You feel that it's a lot when you look at their bar and it starts getting darker because of just how many of those little boxes are in there. Every 100 HP starting to stack up between them there. Even Lystemics has a lot when he ults. My goodness, his bar is going to be almost impossible to read through there. Not as much HP on the side of Deathwalker, though. Much more so protection-based here, but we see 3K, at least out of Lystemics, and wow, 3,400. That's a lot more than I thought that Rotwin had.
There's a lot of health to shred through on both of these members, but the Insides is available, as we mentioned, so there is going to be a little bit of help in that regard, but I'm just looking at Sotos right now. These final judgments have been phenomenal from the Thoth right now, and anytime there's a little bit of setup, they're going to fly through.
Deathwalker hit by the final judgment. It doesn't do maybe as much as Sotos was hoping there, though. Still able to push the Solar out. That heroic teleport is available, so Deathwalker can get right back into this fight. But Sotos is standing at the forefront, right next to Lystemics, hand in hand with his solo laner. Start pelting this damage. Deathwalker teleports in, finds the grapple onto Rotwin. Lystemics into the background, Descent to Madness, up against the 2 carries. Echrome used the beads to get away from the knockup. Sotos isolated by himself. Johnny jumps back out. The Suns rain down, but Johnny on the sliverest of HP. Sotos will get the teleport back in, but a massive Petrify from Echrome. Man, just turned this one back around. It's a 3-for-2 trade, at least in favor right now of the Gilded Gladiators. But Toddy is going down to Deathwalker. Maskill's got to come in to help out his carry, and help he will. It'll be a triple kill for the jungler, and the Gilded Gladiators are that much closer to ending this game.
But they have a lot of damage to deal with from Zeros here, and the Aegis comes out. Zeros, if this pick goes through, they might not have enough with the jump.
He couldn't get the leap. He had to Aegis the whole way through. Lystemics able to turn it around. Toddy stands up at the end of the day. 3 still strong for the side of the Gilded Gladiators, with the Fire Minion wave already at the Titan Room. The Gilded Gladiators in that one team fight finally turn this back around, and they'll take game number 1.
What a crazy team fight we just witnessed. Even Zero's trying the last-ditch effort to save that game. The Fire Minions, though, knock on the Titan Room, and the Gilded Gladiators are able to make that game on their side. What a crazy 5v5 there, man.
Man, moment after a moment. I mean, the Petrify at the end there from Echrome, I thought that was the turning point of the fight for a moment, and then all of a sudden, now it's a 3-for-2 trade out there. Zeros going back in and trying to make one of the craziest hero plays that we could see. But the fact he had to use that Aegis is probably the only reason that he doesn't end up getting that kill there.
Yeah, even if that happened, I think Maskill and Lystemics probably had enough damage to end at that point. Set just doing so much damage at this late game portion. But still, crazy plays by Zeros to try and keep that one alive. But the Gilded Gladiators, I mean, Sotos with those ults, they were able to find so much. The Scarab's Blessings were always on point. Just a great team fight presence by them.
Yeah, long-winded match out here by these 2 teams. But it's the Gilded Gladiators come up on top in game number 1. We'll take it to a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get you guys set up for game number 2. game started out 13 minutes with no blood spill, and then all of a sudden we finally started getting some kills online. The lead started roller coastering back and forth between these two teams, and at the end of it all, it's the Gilded Gladiators who come out on top with one final team fight around that enhanced fire giant. And Charlie, I mean, this one, as back and forth this game was, it never felt like it was out of reach for either of these two teams.
Right.
And a lot of that just because that gold lead, I mean, up until that last little skirmish, Charlie, we didn't see gold really ever go more than like 4,000 or 5,000 either way.
Yeah, it seemed like they were just passing the wheel back and forth. Who was in control of that game? And at the end there, I mean, it was just great team fight play from both of the squads. As you mentioned, there was a huge petrify that we thought, like, oh, is Hex Mambo going to win? And then it just wasn't enough. I mean, the Gilded Gladiators played phenomenally. I think Sotos with these ults pretty much all game was very consistent, as well as the fact that just staying alive, Robin with these Scarab's Blessing, making sure that the whole team was able to stay relatively healthy and saved up there. It was just great team fight play out of the Gilded Gladiators, making sure to get to that late game portion of the game.
Yeah, I think this Kepri also coming up here for Rotwin, able to keep Sotos alive in some of these fights, get some of these revives off to turn things around. But I think it's right to highlight Sotos here. I mean, this guy sitting at the top of the damage charts. As soon as the actual fighting took place, this Thoth jumped from kind of middle of the pack and where his damage was at the top, and then never looked back from that point on. And it's something that we always have to talk about and address and try and figure out, you know, where do teams actually find that killing point? Where do they find that point to where they're able to dive this Thoth? And that was the perfect moment right there. I mean, Johnny finds a great, phenomenal pick. Sotos eventually goes down, but then unfortunately Sotos gets hit by a Petrify as soon as he spawns back in. But I mean, that was the first fight that we actually saw Mambo really get to that backline and deal with Sotos.
Yeah, and Maskill was able to stay on zeros pretty much all game, which is exactly what you want from your jungler. You don't want this Persephone free casting, like we had the Thoth free casting, so Maskill was just able to just say, I'm going to go on this Persephone any chance I get and just make their life miserable at that point. So Zeros was not able to be as effective as he probably wanted to because he always had to deal with this 6-0 set on top of him.
Yeah, 6-0 and 7 for Maskill, 4-3 and 9 on the side of Sotos. But Rotwin with a 13 assist there. Got to throw a little bit of shout over towards the Kepri for being relevant throughout these fights. I mean, we got to a point, it's not very often that we get there, Charlie, where every single player has a full 6 items and almost everybody has their relics fully upgraded into these matchups here. And we can really see just how quickly team fights can turn with a single ultimate, say from Sotos or at the tail end there where we thought maybe Ikrom was going to be able to find something with that Petrify. But all it takes is one little misstep forward for these team fights to completely go south up here. But now Hex Mambo have to fight back because they need to be able to find a win here in game number 2 if they want to keep their chances alive in this set.
Yeah, and this is sort of just the EU special, right? They farm up pretty well, and they make sure these games do go to this 30-40 minute point in the game where you just rely on your team fight presence. You would say, hey, I'm not going to worry about gold leads. I'm not going to worry about, you know, any sort of relic usage. It's just 5v5. We have everything up, and let's brawl.
Well, now we're going to jump right into picks and bans for game number 2 to see if any adjustments are made by Hex Mambo to try and deal with this roster of the side of the Gilded Gladiators, especially this Thoth. I think that's going to be the one that I keep my eyes on, whether that one gets banned or maybe even first picked on the side of Mambo to have something to deal with it here. I mean, what are your thoughts on maybe a pick or a ban early for Mambo on this Thoth?
Yeah, trying to get maybe something that can deal with the Thoth is arguably the better option here. Maybe like a Daji, for example, trying to get that. But more often than not, it does get banned away. And as we mentioned, there was a lot of pressure towards the Thoth. The Gladiators recognize, hey, we don't have first pick. We don't want to give that up because we saw how effective it was when we had it. And Mambo are going to take away that Kepri, which I think is a strong pick as well. Just being able to not play as you wanted to. We saw a few times when Toddy would jump in, and it was like, maybe Johnny's going to go in here, and then you see the Scarab's Blessing possibly come through, and then you don't even see any aggression. So having to match your playstyle to the Kepri is probably what they don't want to deal with.
Medusa first pick on the side of Hex Mambo. Not often that we see this god in particular as the first pick option, typically defaulted towards whatever team is going second. You just grab her because typically you want something maybe a little bit more on the side for your first pick, so putting a lot of stock in this Medusa, especially for Ikrom. It had a good performance on it last game, don't get me wrong. I'm not sure that Gladiators were going to necessarily second pick that one out. Instead, they grabbed Chiron. But Daji is still open, notably. It's a pick that typically is banned away, but has now been left open for either team to grab here. It won't be from the Gladiators, at least for now. As Persephone Chiron locked in, we got your mid and we got your dual lane Hunter.
Yeah, it seems like the Gladiators recognize that Daji is open, so if that is going to be the pick, they have to cleanse from Chiron just to make sure they don't want to deal with that. This could be, never mind. I was going to say this could be a flex, but obviously Persephone does not go in the duo lane, so this is probably going to be that Chiron in the duo lane, Persephone in mid, obviously, as we see the set locked in once again, but this time around, it's going to be probably for Johnny, right? That's going to be an interesting one. Very different play style from the Bastet, whereas you don't really have much CC. You just have raw damage and engage.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the name that Johnny likes to play. I mean, I think back to his times of playing like Loki, Bakasura, Ao Kwang, those kinds of days for Johnny where he was the real hyper carry of the team. Set really just seems to fall into that similar play style for him, even at this point in time here. And then you throw a Sobex, now Trix Tank gets to go onto one of his signature picks in the dual lane, something that's very dangerous and poses a massive threat to really any of these backliners. I mean, Persephone gets pulled back in. That's got to be an easy beads out of the mid laner.
That's true, but we are seeing the Circuit come through now, which arguably is the reason that Set sort of fell out of the meta, right? This Circuit was so powerful. You saw it more so in the support role. Just shutting down that Kingslayer healing is going to be very annoying, and right now, we don't know where the Circuit is going. Usually, though, because of the shifts and the changes of her kit in that jungle role, but there's a few different options here. You could always throw it in the support role if you want to just be that anti-heal bot. You just want to shut down the healing from the Kingslayer, so that could always be the option. But now that we see the Chalk, I was going to say the jungle, if you will, that leads me to believe this could be a Chalk jungle, and this could be a Circuit support.
Yeah, a lot of flexibility with just those two picks there. I mean, we know that Chalk, you know, we talk a lot about the jungle, but Chalk solo is still, you know, one of the old mainstays here as far as this god is concerned. But you're right to bring up the flexibility of really both the Circuit and the Chalk here. So maybe we'll get a little bit shine a little bit of light here once that last pick comes in on the side of Gladiators. But a Hades pick on the side of Hex Mambo might be one of the more interesting ones that pop out of here. With an Agni locked in going towards the mid, we're going to see Deathwalker pilot a mage over in the solo lane. I mean, not uncommon. We saw SOT doing it over in the SPL previously. We know that players like Mogal love this god. But it's interesting to see Deathwalker of all players pick it up.
I mean, now that we see the ESA, that sort of rounds out this draft, right? So we have the Chiron ADC, we have the ESET support, we have the Circuit jungle, and then we have the Chalk solo, right? That's got to be the option because we never see Circuit in the solo lane. Her clear just doesn't really, it's not up to par. Yeah. So I suppose there could be the argument, but right now that seems to be how this draft is going to round out here. You have a lot of CC in this comp that you have to worry about, and if you're Hex Mambo, there's a lot of annoyances as well for the Gladiators draft.
Well, we've been given the pieces. Let's see if we can put the puzzle together here as we jump into game number 2 with Hex Mambo and the Gilded Gladiators. Mambo need a win here in order to move on and keep us into a third game in this set. Where can the Gilded Gladiators close this one out? It will be the ESET support. Maskill taking that Circuit over in towards the jungle. I was maybe wondering if Rotwin or Maskill maybe would have swapped their two gods between each other, get the ESET jungle that we've been seeing over on the NA side, and maybe the Circuit still to the support role there. But no, it will not be so. Making sure to keep that very heavy lockdown CC heavy mage over in this dual lane to try and deal with Trix Tank and Ebro.
Yeah, looking at Deathwalker's build though, I expected the tier 2 Bancrofts. Like that made sense to me, but the beads is going to be the option. I was worried because sometimes we do see that teleport despite this, but I was going to say you're going to be getting camped so hard as a Hades against Circuit if you don't get that bead. So very smart by Deathwalker recognizing how much pressure could come his way in this lane, especially up against a Chalk. Chalk usually building like full damage. Right now the Bluestone into what I can only assume is going to be that Transcendent start that we see so often. So I think you're going to have to play very safe right now if you are Deathwalker on this Hades solo. And then the mid, pretty much run-of-the-mill stuff. We see the Sands of Time, and we see the tier 1 pen.
And we saw Hex Mambo do this last game too, where Johnny and Deathwalker basically held each other's hands over in the solo lane for a little while, kind of left Lestemix by himself to fight up against the 2v1. Meanwhile, they end up throwing Maskill over towards the mid lane on the side of the Gladiators to help out with Sodos' early pressure. They'll be able to get just that at least. So at least Oracle Vision, though it's not going to get a whole lot of value early on, we'll at least get some extra golden XP in the pockets of the Gladiators.
Yeah, it really just depends on where these junglers want to find pressure early. As we saw from last game, I don't think there's going to be too much aggression. Maskill, the cards have to be in his hands right now because Circuit just has so much more early aggression than Set right now, especially at level 3 when Set doesn't have that Kingslayer available. You can still find crazy amounts of pressure with the stuns and the taunts from Circuit specifically, so there's going to be a lot of options there for Maskill. But the farm game seems to be the name right now because no one really wants to give an early lead. We saw there wasn't too many sparks flying until about that first Gold Fury fight, so right now I wouldn't be surprised if it goes the same way.
I think it was like 12 and a half or 13 minutes in before we saw the first actual kill last game. We're not going to see one at least just yet. A double leap out, one from Maskill, one from Sodos. We'll make sure that they're not going to take too much poke or pressure here from Zeros and Johnny. But over into the dual lane, Trix Tank has already left this lane, and it's a gank up here by the red buff. It's just going to be Sodos trying to bend up against 3. Stun won't be there. Pluck will be good to get the beads off of the mid laner and a skewer after, deal a little bit of extra damage. Sotos, a lot of pressure thrown towards him. Won't be able to secure his red buff. That one is going to be stolen away and grabbed by the Hex Mambo.
And Deathwalker was stealing away back camps over here as well. So Hex Mambo very aggressive in the enemy jungle at the moment, just trying to steal away everything they can. But Deathwalker realizes, hey, maybe I don't want to take this 2v2 right now. I'm just going to go back to my own blue buff at this point. Really not try to solo invade that one because we already know where Johnny was at the moment. So you don't really have too much backup from the set at the moment. So making sure to get your own camp, probably the better option here. A small goal lead the way of Hex Mambo, but we've seen the Gladiators. They've been sitting pretty much at this tower line. They don't really want to step up into Trick's tank on this Sobek, especially with this blink available.
It's not going to be any teleports from the solo laners, and Rodwin's going to need a lot more than just beads to get out of here. He will go down for first blood. Hex Mambo striking early this time, only 3 minutes in here in game number 2, and they're able to find first blood up against the enemy support.
Yeah, Trick's just blink plucked as I was talking about its blink, and then I saw Rodwin late on the beads, was not able to beads that blink pluck there. So unfortunate for Rodwin, loses the beads and his life. So this lane is going to be even harder now, especially for Toddy, because look who got that last hit. It was Echrome. Echrome is now level 5. As a Chiron, you don't really want to fight into a Medusa ever. You sort of just want to clear as best you can. But look at this engage.
Ultimate on out of Sotos, I should say, to hold down Johnny, and Mass Kill has enough follow-up damage to make sure the mid laner not only gets out, but that they also are able to pick up a kill here. Now 1-1 as far as the kills are concerned. The Gilded Gladiators still with some fight back.
Yeah, Maskill has to be looking to get aggressive in this lane right now. I mean, in the jungle specifically. In the mid lane, though, I think is your option. As we mentioned, Johnny, not the greatest matchup in the Circuit. On this set, you want to get as much healing as you can, all these procs, and Last Breath pretty much shuts that down. You don't really get any sort of healing, and then the damage comes through, and all of your engage is pretty much done. So Maskill, exactly where it needs to be. Wherever Johnny is, try to match that pressure and just make sure your mid laner is safe. Sotos lives with a sliver of HP there, and gets the assist gold. So pretty solid right now. Answer back for the Gilded Gladiators. Still a small lead, though, in the way of Hex Mambo, as we were just talking about.
Yeah, and Sotos having to fight that one without his beads. He had lost prior at that red buff engagement there. So about 30 seconds till those ones come back up for the mid laner. Golden XP sitting pretty much at the same point, about 300 up for the side of Hex Mambo. Deathwalker and Johnny will be able to team up and get this back Harpy and get this blue buff to make sure solo lane is going to be A-okay here. Haven't seen either of these solos go back, though. They're sitting on quite a bit of gold in pocket, about 2,300 each. So I'm curious as to what those first items will be. Lystemics, as you called earlier, probably the Transcendence, Bancroft's Talon, most likely the call here for Deathwalker.
The option, though, is what's the second item, right? Because
True.
Deathwalker could really build anything under the sun, and I think it would make sense. It's got to be tier 2 breastplate, though. Full Bancroft's tier 2 breastplate. That's what I'm banking on. Deathwalker, you had all the money for it, and there it is. We got it. Heck yeah.
There you go.
And because you're up against double fizz, you have to deal with the chalk and the Circuit damage, so I think that one makes sense. You had exactly that much gold for it as well, and we'll pick up the Chalice of Healing, so really making use of that gold there. Deathwalker, pretty easy farm for the Hades. You pretty much just one-shot the wave. You can dash into the back camps, one-shot those as well, especially with this build. So Deathwalker is going to be running to farm, and I don't think really wanting to fight too much. I will say Lystemics doesn't have beads, so if the ult's ever down and the teleport's down, there could be some fight potential, but if you're Lystemics, there's no real reason to use all that right now in this lane.
Deathwalker will at least have to walk away from Lystemics. He's got some pretty nice wave clear of his own. We always talk about the strengths of Hades clear. Well, Chalk pretty much able to match that as far as the Warriors are concerned. But look at the extra damage thrown his way. Look at the damage thrown towards Maskill. Ambush going to be interrupted. Spearfall will get a little bit of value there. Johnny locked down. Johnny take it down. Sotos credit to the kill, and Tricksank has to use the ult to get away from that grasp of death as he got crippled down in place as well. But for now, Gilded Gladiators able to pick up one in the engagement.
That's wild, because that whole fight started because Trix canceled Maskill's leap, so there was no way to escape at that point. Had to use the ult just for CC immunity, but unfortunate. Johnny's level 6, 0-2 right now, just not doing enough damage. There really is no fight potential if you can't get this Kingslayer off, even with Zeros pumping out as much damage as he is right now on this Agni. And Maskill's gonna look for Trix.
Maskill is back. Let's find the double taunt, the wing gust, and the damage after from Sotos is good enough to take them down. Tricksank will fall. The Gladiators pick up their third kill. And now at least brought this game back to a dead even state here with the Golden XP. Deathwalker managed to find a blue buff invade up over against Lystemics here. So a nice small little win, at least for Hex Mambo out of that fight. But now having lost 2 of these little skirmishes in that mid camp, Not the greatest look so far early for the Mambo.
I will say it's pretty much impossible for Listemics to out-secure Deathwalker right now at that blue buff. As long as you don't kill the ghost minions, you get the full explosion damage with the blight on those. So you pretty much are never doing 500 damage on a chalk right now against that blue buff. So as long as Deathwalker plays it perfectly with those ghost minions, he's going to explode that one every time. So right now, Maskkill is going to have to say, hey, I can help you with that blue buff, or you got to fend for yourself, man. And right now, it's working out. They're getting the kills in mid lane that they need. The gold lead, maybe not so much in their favor, but at least the mental battle right now of Hex Mambo trying to find aggression in mid lane and getting consistently shut down by this Serket and Persephone combo, it's got to be weighing pretty heavy on Mambo.
We do see Toddy starting with the same way that Listemics was going with his build at the least. Bluestone into a Transcendence for the Hunter on the Gilded Gladiators. Meanwhile, Hex Mambos on the side of Ekrum still going with that Crush Your Death Soul start, the most common strat, and start up here out of these Medusas as a whole. But only 8 minutes in, 4 kills on the board. 4 more than we saw last game. It wasn't until 13 minutes, like I said previously, where we actually saw any kills go this way. But Trix ain't gonna get initiated with another Blink Plug. Maskkill stunned out on landing, but he's still got the ambush to find his way out of there. No relics taken away in this fight by Mambo.
Yeah, and didn't even have to use the ultimate there, so Maskkill probably pretty happy with that one. That gets out by the skin of his teeth. Zeros is doing a fair amount of damage, but not enough to one-shot a Serket off a plug just yet. That's not really Agni's play style, right? You have a lot of poke, but you don't have that much burst at the moment, at least. So, gonna live to see another day. Trix, though, I'm loving this aggression. Even though the last few plucks have not really resulted in much, Trix is still looking for the engage whenever he can find it, still trying to get active on this map. And this is that playstyle we were talking about in game 1. Even though Trix has been pretty much, you know, dying every time these plucks come through, still trying to find the aggression for his team. He's not afraid to set up, even if it puts him out of position.
But unfortunately for Zeros, with all that skirmishing that happened on the right side when he gets met by an East on the left side, doesn't have his beads now, so he's locked inside the cage, and Circle of Protection is enough to deal the damage and take him down. Rotwin now on the board with a kill of their own. The Gilded Gladiators now with 4. Red buff invade by Rotwin. Won't do anything. He won't even throw out an ability this time to try and get in there. But that's the result of what we saw on the left side. You know, Zeros lost his beats because he got silenced one time by Rotwin. That's easy follow-up for him on the second engagement.
Yeah, especially because the dash got caught there. If the dash gets off, you probably don't have much potential there. I mean, Rotwin doesn't have a blink or anything, so you can't really chase that. But catching the dash with that silence is going to be just enough. Then Grasp of Death comes in, drop the Circle Protection just for added benefit there, and you do get another kill. This time onto the mid laner, so Zeros a little bit unfortunate there, but Maskkill might be looking to get a little bit aggressive in this dueling. Toddy really the only one behind on the map right now, so Maskkill trying to help out the ADC, at least try to get this level, but not going to be the option there. Making sure that Trix is still helping out in that lane. Trix is the red buff right now, so Trix is able to do a fair bit of damage here.
Yeah, we get to see the silence and the Spirit Ball combo that came over here. There it is, right, catching it just as he clipped the wall there. That's the most unfortunate part. I mean, yes, with that Agni dash, you can still kind of skate around the wall, so to speak, there, but the fact that he did get caught on the wall made it for a much easier target for Rotwin there. So nice little heads-up play and a good little reaction by Rotwin to catch him there. That's able to help put him and his team now in the lead, about 700-800 gold up. The Gladiators have finally gotten in this early game.
Yep, and Trix Tank once again itemizing into that wing blade, recognizing he wants to be a little bit faster, and there are a fair bit of slows on the Gilded Gladiators roster. The Sobek is going to be schmooving around the map just a little bit, and I'm going to have to worry about that as Deathwalker also makes a rotation over to mid. When you have this Hades pick, as I mentioned, there's so much pressure. You're pretty much able to full heal every time you clear the wave. You want to go to camps as much as you can, but now that Deathwalker has that blink, trying to find some rotations to mid and help out the squad, I think is a smart play here. Trix, though, also has the blink.
Trix goes in, but not able to get a pluck, has to use Lurking in the Waters instead because Grasp of Death was there from Soda's pluck. Just off the mark from grabbing Maskkill, but that's a relic down on the side of Hex Mambo, trading out ult for ult between the mid laner. Maybe not the most worthwhile, considering Sodas does have that 20% CDR already. But we did get a nice little display of what that Wingblade can do. That silence comes through, and normally that Spirit Ball should have been able to connect onto Trix, but with that extra movement speed he gained from it, that slow immunity, actually was able to get him out of there.
Yep, that is going to be the option there as Johnny finally takes over to level 11. Looking at the ADCs right now, 14 to 13, not so bad, but in the jungle, Johnny 11 to Maskill's 12 and just ticked over. So Maskill, a fair XP lead, at least in the jungle department. And that's going to be really impactful, especially right now, where you can go back and get your second relic. You have Blink and Beads now if you're Maskill, but if you're Johnny, just the Beads available. So you don't really have that Aegis option if you want, or maybe a Shell, something like that. You don't have that second relic, and it's going to be a little bit more annoying, especially if you're going to pull a Gold Fury or something like the Gilded Gladiators are looking to do right now.
Gold Fury is here. Rotwin does have ults. That's a decent bit of secure for the side of Gladiators, but Zeros also has a lot of damage with these meteors. Will drop at least one into the backline, but has to use the beads to get away from this Circuit ultimate. Gold Fury goes over to the Gilded Gladiators, and a swift retreat from the Chaos team will mean that they're able to cleanly grab that objective. Using a few extra ultimates there, maybe probably didn't want to have to use 3 ults to get that one, but getting the objective, probably better than losing it.
Yeah, Deathwalker did make the rotation over, but Johnny is trying to chase out Maskill here. I don't imagine a kill will occur unless they can stop the blink, which they will. Maskill beats, and I think he's dead.
No, does have the Death Bane, but Johnny doesn't have another spawn to throw out, nor Skewer to secure that kill. Maskill playing with fire around here. Trixtank without the blink means that he won't be able to find a pluck under tower. And whew, Zero Seat's about a third of his HP just from one shot there out of Sotos.
Yeah, Bone Rush doing a lot of damage right now, but I did mention as Grasp of Death comes through, and Toddy's getting dove here, but seems to be fine. There's so much aggression happening. Deathwalker's gonna dash in as well.
Deathwalker goes in, but Petrify up on Toddy. Dash in by E-Chrome Beads from the Spirit Ball out of Rotwin. And some good damage from the Wing Guts. Pluck finds Toddy once more. Aegis is used, but body blocks out of Rotwin. Make sure that Toddy should be able to find a way out. No, it's a good acid spray that deals the damage, and the lurking in the waters for the final hit there. The body blocks end up being the downfall of the Gladiators' Hunter.
Sotos, though, is going to take a little bit of damage here against Johnny. Does have the jump available, but not enough damage, and it looks like both of them could be out of trouble here. Rotwin is going to get plucked back in, and Sotos, wait, but Maskill can help.
Johnny can't find the shot onto Sotos, who's using the wall maybe to jump over it. Sotos doesn't have that leap back up just yet. Needs it to get away, but he doesn't have it. It's a double kill. Now for Trixtank as 3 go down on the side of the Gladiators. The Mambo close up the kills, and they shoot the golden XP right back to their side.
Stemix was about to make the rotation over from Solo, trying to help out his squad as best as possible. But at this point, the fight's already done. Too little, too late. Unfortunate, Chalk sort of makes that trek over really for nothing, but it's going to help out here as Trix takes away a little bit of those Obelisk offerings as well. So a huge win here for Hex Mambo, trying to climb back into this game. They have the lead now in Maskill, trying to find some reverse aggression after that they just lost. But Zeros, nope, not going to find that stun. So Maskill will be able to get out of Heck at least that time.
We'll make it away. Taking a look down the build here for Listemix. Does have that Oni's Hunter garb. Been making a rise recently, especially in the EU scene. Some of these solo laners have really taken a liking to this item with the extra health that it was given in its more recent patch up here. It seems to make it a little bit more enticing towards some of these solo laners, but who can ever argue with extra free damage mitigation that you get from the passive too?
Yeah, it's going to help out a ton, especially if you do just want to get like one magical defense item. Bulwark of Hope used to be the flavor of the month right now, but Oni Hunter's Garb is coming back in fruition, as you meant, especially in this EU circuit. They're liking those mitigations that you can get. Deathwalker, though, already showing what he's trying to do with this build. Picks up the Bumba's Dagger. So Bumba's Hammer, Hades, late game, super annoying to deal with. You just get so many cooldown resets. The true damage is going to help you out a ton on those auto attacks. So once Deathwalker does take over to level 20, I imagine it's going to be very annoying to deal with here. So pretty much trying to fast track that farm game. But look at Hex Mambo right now. They're positioning very high up in the jungle. No Gold Furies available. They're just here trying to get red buffs or look for a pick because there's no buffs at the moment.
Yeah, they want a fight here, and maybe Rotwin will give them the fight that they want. No, it will not be so. Rotwin maybe recognizing, man, I don't see anybody on the map except for now Deathwalker and Zeros. I wonder where everybody's probably standing at. Well, the answer to that was the red buff. Trixtank, though, will still get aggressive. Silence is good. Trixtank finds the blood, throws Rotwin under the tower, gets some damage out of Deathwalker. Circle protection will not be enough to help out Rotwin. He will not get that heal off, at least not in time. E-Chrome credit to the kill. Tier 1 tower goes down. Tier 2 under fire, but the rotation from Listemix, that should be the end of the call, at least for Hex Mambo to go on this tower.
Yeah, Rotwin did not have those beads available, so a great CC chain from Hex Mambo is able to pick that one off. So now they're looking over towards this Pyromancer as Maskill sort of front lines this, but he's gonna get plucked in.
Does get hit, bomb is good. The combustion damage after the passive of the Agni is enough to burn him down. The jungler falls for the Gladiators. That opens up the way. That could have been a Pyromancer, but I guess because Echrome wasn't around, Hex Mambo don't elect to go for that objective. Instead, it's just a couple of picks in that fight.
Yeah, Trix tank 3-1 right now, an absolute menace on this Sobek. Anywhere he is finding Plucks, trying to create some space and set up for his squad, but it looks like this tier 2 tower is being looked at by Echrome, and Trix is about to wrap around, but thinks a little bit better of it this time. Recognizes the Primal Fury is spawning here shortly. If you do get picked right before that, that's going to be a big golden swing for the Gilded Gladiators. So just backing up, trying to reset for this neutral objective is the name of the game here. As we look at Echrome ticks over level 19, which is incredible at 17 minutes into the game, as we've mentioned. Everyone else not very close. Your closest right now is Listemics at 18.
Yeah, it's definitely not close, at least between the Hunters. That level 19, if it was 19 to like 18 or 19 on the other side, yeah, that's impressive by both, but it's 19 versus 15. Toddy so far behind on this Chiron as far as the XP is concerned, though, because the gold just now started to spiral out here. We don't see as much separation between those, about 1,500 gold just between the Hunters alone, but 3,200 total for Hex Mambo here. 18 minutes in, 10 kills total on the board, lead at least as far as Hex Mambo is concerned. Deathwalker has been much more aggressive in these mid-game skirmishes. I mean, last time around, we saw Deathwalker sticking to solo more often, but here in this game, at least now, we've been seeing him get over to this mid lane much quicker. Yeah,
it's just such quick clear for the Hades. I mean, you're able to rotate so effectively, and it's going to help out your team a ton, as we mentioned. Great CC chain from the pluck into the pillar. It's going to be a lot of damage, and Deathwalker's making sure to always be there. Stone of Foul picked up as well, so a lot of damage mitigation for this Hades solo at the moment. But the Gilded Gladiators are not too afraid right now. They are showing face at this Primal Fury, but my eyes go to Trix immediately. Where is the engage going to be? And it looks like he's just going to tank up the Gold Fury because Deathwalker's enough to zone.
Primal Fury started up, and that one will go down to Hex Mambo unless some miracle steal from out of nowhere would come the way of the Gladiators. It will not. Listemics caught inside of the ultimate by Deathwalker, but does have the torrent with the axe toss to be able to get out of there. Rotwin eating a couple of bombs on this E set. Deathwalker goes in, finds the silence, finds damage after the circle of protection now forced out of the support, but as well as a petrify from Echrome. That'll put down Rotwin, at least for now, put another one up for Hex Mambo.
Yeah, you lose the beads there, you lose the kill and the circle of protection, and now Hex Mambo's looking over towards the Pyromancer. Honestly, they could probably look at Fire Giant if they really wanted to, but given how slow pace these teams like to play, I can't imagine the Fire Giant is the call, at least right now, and Pyromancer's up. But look at Deathwalker, already face checking right now, showing how tanky he is, not really afraid to try and zone out everyone.
Semix running back. Deathwalker will go in aggressively against two, but he's got the rest of his team as backup. No ultimate from the Hades for at least a couple more seconds. Ult from Listemics used to try and zone them away. Echrome does get hit by a Bone Rush, and that's going to put him fairly low. He's got a little bit of lifesteal online and some crits, so he should be able to heal off of another minion wave that's coming up here. 5 standing strong on the side of Hex Mambo. I would imagine they would try and set for the fire, but instead, they've got their eyes set on this tier 1.
Yeah, they're not ready to go for the Fire Giant just yet, but I'm still looking. Deathwalker does go for the Blink Pillar and gets the beats down from Sotos, and now the engage begins.
Sotos is out, throws out the ultimate, but it's not going to find anybody directly. No, Zeros gets caught at the very end of it just by the grasp alone. Johnny, though, able to clean up a kill onto Mass Kill. Now, it's a 4v4 without the mid laner of Hex Mambo. Stands the damage to get in. Pluck up against Listemics will throw him into the back line, but a Spirit Ball and the ult back up now for Listemics to deal a lot of damage. But Johnny in the back line will find the solo pick onto Toddy, but Johnny, will he be able to make it out? The question, circle protection, not enough damage. Johnny somehow makes it out on like 1 HP. Absolutely crazy here for Hex Mambo's jungler. Finds 2 picks in the fight and finds a way out.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part about this low-nose mask from Rot. When you aren't doing a lot of damage with that circle of protection, it's killing the damage you're able to output. So Johnny lives on like 1 HP, as you mentioned. It looks like this tier 2 tower could fall here unless Listemics has some body blocks, and they will be able to save their tier 2 tower. That could have been a massive swing. It already was a massive swing, but it could have been an even more massive swing for Hex Mambo. The Gilded Gladiators, though, still able to find a few kills in that engage. That was a really nice grasp of death by Sotos, making sure to pick off Zeros there at the very last second, as we mentioned. Almost made it out of that one, and Johnny actually making it out of that one. So not terrible for the Gilded Gladiators, but still, I imagine you probably wanted that team fight to go a little bit better. Rotwin, level 14. That's really what I'm looking at right now. The XP lead for the duo lane specifically. Toddy, level 17 to Echrome's 20, who's been 20 for quite some time. Really only has 3.5 items built, whereas you look at Echrome, who already has an upgraded starter and full items right now. So very annoying right now if you're having to deal with this Medusa.
I cannot believe that Johnny made it out of that fight. That is absolutely criminal that he made out not only on 1 HP once, but twice. I think he got a heal from Deathwalker on his escape out, and that was just enough to get him out from the circle of protection there that came from Rawin. Absolutely mind-blowing that Johnny's still alive throughout all of that one. Now, the 5 strong of Hex Mambo will group up. They'll steal a Greater Scorpion away from the Gilded Gladiators and could set up for this Fire Giant here. They've got the pressure. The Gilded Gladiators are only grouped up as 4, as Maskill off to the left-hand side by himself, at least at the beginning of this fight.
Yeah, we're looking back now. They're not really looking at the Fire Giant. This isn't a bait in per se. They are looking for engage as Deathwalker blinks in, but so does Maskill.
Sodos does have the leap to get away from Deathwalker. It's the 1v1 of the junglers. That's not going either way too speedily here. Will at least be a back away. And a reset by both of these two teams. As you said, maybe not necessarily for fire, but just for a pick out here. Johnny will go into the lane and clear out those waves. Level 20 now on the set. Should be able to go back and pick up that starter item soon once he has enough gold in pocket to do so. The Gladiators have fully backed themselves out of the jungle, away from the pit entirely. Maskill versus Johnny. This one could go over to Johnny and teleporting with the Sandstorm. Needs some extra damage from the Skewer to slow down Maskill, catch him out here. Does Johnny have the cooldown for it? He's getting low, Maskill. But meanwhile, a fight on the opposite side, and it's an ultimate out of Lysimics. The zone away couple, Grats of Death will lock in too. Echrome is still falling low, but so is everybody else on the Gladiators. Rawin pulled back in and take it down. Trixie, credit to the kill.
Trix is just too good on Sobek, man. He's able to find these plucks even when it looks like he's got like 2 HP diving under a tier 2 tower. Always finding that displacement that his team desperately needs to make sure to get this Fire Giant, and they get the pick. I'm amazed also that Maskill was able to juke out Johnny there and get out. Zerket does have a lot of movement abilities, but still set. Very mobile in his own right to chase that one down. But still, the Fire Giant is not being looked at. Hex Mambo, once again, have the 5v4. They have everything they really want. They got a lot of relics down and some ultimates, but they're not really looking to engage at the moment. They want to look maybe towards this Oni Fury that's spawning in. But as we saw last time, whenever you see pressure on that Gold Fury and Fire Giant's available, you have to run the risk of losing that one.
Look at that 4th item that Johnny had picked up here. Goes back and gets Protector of the Jungle, which is where most of his fights have been taking place here. But a Blood Forge as a next item up. A little bit of extra movement speed, a lot of extra power, and some lifesteal there, plus that shield. Whenever he does manage to find a kill, going to make that set even faster and even harder to deal with here. So now you have not just the healing that comes from the Kingslayer ultimate, now you've just got some natural lifesteal built up here for Johnny.
Yeah, that's going to help out the dive a little bit, but Deathwalker also has finished up that Bumba's Hammer. These are some large power spikes for Hex Mambo. Whenever I see this Hades go in, it's just going to be like 2 auto, 3 auto, 1 auto, and it's just going to keep resetting these cooldowns. Such a tanky target right now, so much healing as well, as Hex Mambo is going to get the Pyromancer, and right again, I'm looking at Trix.
Johnny and Lysimics go in for Echrome. They find a lot of damage on the Hunter, but Echrome's able to find a way out, and so is Maskill, but Echrome gets taken out by an Axe Toss, and Zeros gets caught out by Ice Sotos in the midst of the team fight. Now it's 3 versus 4. Sotos out, but Johnny takes him down with the Skewer after. It's going to be a double kill. Now for Johnny in the fight, a lot of these spawns are going through. Rotwin goes down. Triple kill for the jungler of Hex Mambo. Only Maskill and Lysimics left alive, and they're nowhere near this fight.
That was crazy. The Gilded Gladiators were able to find so much success early on, but that's sort of the benefit right now of the Hex Mambo draft. These targets, these tanky targets that have a ton of healing are able to survive through these fights. Obviously, Johnny gets a lot of the Blood Forge procs there. Deathwalker is healing up a bunch with Bumba's Hammer. You only really have your tanks alive right now, but Johnny has enough damage to really poke down not only this tower, but possibly this Phoenix as well, as Maskill is going to have to wrap around here.
Still looping in. No ultimate yet, though, so he can't shut down any of that healing as of now. Just got the ultimate to tick back in, but it doesn't seem that Maskill is concerned about the Phoenix defense. Not going to be any push in, as Lysimics is zoning the 2 tanks away for the side of Hex Mambo. Lysimics will chase them out, so no Phoenix push down just yet. It'll just be that tier 2 from a moment ago, and a speed buff secured there by Maskill. But as we're starting to approach these level 20 points for all of our players, we're starting to see some of these starter items finished up now. Still nothing for Maskill, but a Pendulum now picked up by Sotos gives him 30% CDR. So if he was already throwing out these damages that are hurting quite a bit, now they're going to hurt quite a bit more and more often.
Yeah, that is the case And again, Maskill finds a great engage there, but if you're right now, if you're not ulting set, I don't think you're getting the full benefit of the Circuit pick right now, because most of the damage we're seeing right now in these fights has been on the back end, right? Where Johnny's able to get the Kingslayer off late in these fights and still find crazy amounts of damage. Of course, killing E-Chrome and killing Zeros is not a bad thing in any world, but if you want to actually win this team fight, you're going to have to shut down this Kingslayer. And right now, Johnny has been doing a lot of damage in this late game portion, and Deathwalker pretty much able to blink in freely because look, no damage was taken right there.
No, Sotos doesn't take a whole lot of damage either. I think he was caught just at the very tip there of the Pillar of Agony. Maskill versus Johnny. We saw this fight earlier on. Johnny is winning this one. Maskill's got the leap to get away. Grasp of Death will find Johnny, locks him down, and he doesn't have the beats to get out of this one. It's Sotos to shut down the jungler of Hex Mambo, and now it's a 5 versus 4 the Gladiators have advantage on.
Yeah, they've used a lot of ultimates, though, making sure to get that pick on Johnny. So if you're Hex Mambo right now, probably just sitting around Fire Giant, getting as much farm as you can, but definitely not looking to engage right now. You have a member down. The Gilded Gladiators are probably looking to stall as well, because again, they used a lot of ultimates there to guarantee that they got that pick on the set. If I'm the Gilded Gladiators, I'm just saying, hey, we need to get Rotwin some items. We need to get the XP lead that they have right now kind of shut down, because 5 members of Hex Mambo are level 20, and we have a 16 E set right now. So trying to get a little bit more damage in tank stats is going to help out, but look at Deathwalker already wrapping around here in this fight.
Wrapping around, does find Toddy, gets some good damage on him, has that Pillar of Agony, but will not use it in the midst of the Fire Giant pit. Instead, Lystemix wrapping himself back around, 2 versus 1. Toddy has the dash to get out. E-Chrome finds Maskill all alone in the back line. Deathwalker finds 2 with the silence. Lystemix finds 2 with the ultimate, gets the Petrify out of the Hunter, but Deathwalker now low, and so is Lystemix. He's got to get out because those bombs are starting to rain true. Trickstank versus 3, but Trickstank is fine with this trade because he's winning this one out there. Sotos and Toddy both at a quarter HP.
But the cleanse gets baited out, so Rotwin gets plucked back in here. Zero's a little bit off the mark with that bomb, so Rotwin will live to see another day. But look right now where E-Chrome is on the Fire Giant. It's already getting shredded down. It looks like every one of the Gilded Gladiators is going to give this one up, so they're not going to be able to. Max Mambo will get the first Fire Giant of this game.
With a significant lead to themselves too, 10,000 gold up for Hex Mambo, and a Fire Giant. Grass Death used, but won't find anybody there. It says Pillar of Agony to pull Sotos back in, and Zeros to put him down. 15 kills now for Hex Mambo, and maybe a little bit more after. Zeros goes in, doesn't find the stun, instead gets the beads off the support on the side of the Gilded Gladiators. Now, Hex Mambo can push it to the right side, Phoenix.
Yeah, Deathwalker's getting those Bumbus procs out. No one else feels too kind to sit up to this Phoenix, but Deathwalker so tanky, is able to heal up so much. Lystemix finds it on, and Mastic's gonna go in.
Maskill finds 1 with it, but he's almost down himself. Just trying to get out of the fight. Might we need to run here because Johnny's got the skewer, and he'll throw out a spawn and get that secure with it. Johnny picks him another kill on the jungler, and now it's 5 versus 3 for the side of Hex Mambo, but they are not willing to push into that Titan just yet. Instead, they'll back away.
I really thought they were going to go for that Titan there. With these Bumbus procs, Deathwalker's ult is already back up. They have a ton of damage if they want to go for it, but also there are a few towers still up for Hex Mambo, so they are going to get that tier 2 tower. Now going to look, and I'm looking for the pluck from Trix once again. So many beads are down right now. He has so many targets, but it looks like just the Phoenix is going to be looked at for now.
Yeah, Phoenix will go down. That's now 2 birds stripped away from the Gilded Gladiators. Hex Mambo can make a nice little back off if they wish to here and take out the last tower. That'll just be the efforts of Johnny necessary to grab that one away, but there is another minion wave, and with 2.5 minutes left on this Fire Giant buff, maybe a little surprised that they don't try and go for the end here. I mean, Fire Minion's still a little ways away in that right lane from getting there, but instead they'll set their sights towards the Oni Fury, via them not just Fire Minions, but Oni Fire Minions in 2 lanes.
Yeah, I'm looking at the golden hand, and I can see why they didn't go for the end there. Deathwalker at 4K, so just making sure to finish a full Lonos mask is going to be the item of choice here. Wow, I'm surprised. Deathwalker's been doing a fair bit of damage in his own right, but just wanting to be absolutely unkillable and do the full brunt of his damage with the true damage auto attacks from Bumbus Hammer, really, and just setting up for the squad seems to be the play here. So just a menace on this Hades right now. So many mitigations in the build. It's going to be super annoying to try and kill Deathwalker, but look at the Gladiators. They're trying to set up to find a pick, and Johnny doesn't really care. He's just going to teleport away there, so not really too worried about the ambush that the Gilded Gladiators try and set up. And at this point, they're just going to run it down left lane. They still have Fire Giant for 1:30, so this left Phoenix is going to be an afterthought, and possibly the Titan unless the Gilded Gladiators back up.
A lot of health on the side of Deathwalker too, sitting near 3,400 with his build. A Breastplate of Vigilance picked up after, so those basic attacks are going to be doing a little bit less damage to Deathwalker once that ultimate is done. And we've seen more often where Deathwalker goes in, finds the ult, and then cancels it right away. We'll see him go with it here. Finds 3, circle protection through. And look how little damage Deathwalker is taking in the midst of all of that. He'll take more just from the Phoenix alone. Half HP on the Hades Grants to death. Manages to lock down 4. Echrome has to use the beads to find a way out. Spearfall just off the mark, but not mass kill. He'll be able to close the distance and find the kill into Echrome. But look at the damage that Johnny is putting right back out. He's already found 2 in the midst of the fight. Lessemics falling low. Johnny still walking forward. He needs a little bit more damage to close out that kill. Will not find it. It'll be Deathwalker to take that one away. But Johnny in finds the triple. Might as well just give him a 4th one here. But Sotos will find his way back to the fountain. And Hex Mambo can close out game number 2 with a big win here, just shy of 33 minutes with Sotos going down.
I mean, this has been the play for the Gilded Gladiators pretty much every time. They try to find the picks where they can. They kill off Echrome, maybe kill off Zeros, but who do you leave alive? Johnny. And as far as I'm concerned, Deathwalker stole the penta there because it was the quadra. He gets the triple kill, but they would have dove the well, making sure to get that penta kill if he did get the quadra. So you got to look at the set, man. You can't let set free cast at the end of these fights.
Yeah, I mean, set seems to be a pretty big decision maker and a pretty big asset for both of these teams out here. Would be surprised if we maybe even see this one go through in game number 3. We'll take it to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have game 3 right after this. in game of one, that was a very tug-of-war battle between these two teams. Here in game number two, it started out pretty nicely for the Gilded Gladiators, but the Hex Mambo were able to take quick control, and they never really let off the gas from that point on. They're able to find themselves a win here in game number two. It's J-Mac. I got Trully with me to kind of help me break that game down, because what a wild game it was. I mean, we talked about in game one how this team needed to find a way to dive Sotos. Now we're going to be talking more so about Gilded Gladiators and finding a way to keep Johnny from diving everybody else, because that just seems to be the name of the game here. I mean, Hex Mambo, their jungler Johnny is absolutely decimating this backline.
Yeah, it seemed like the Gilded Gladiators put all their pressure into the carries, but they forgot about the set, obviously. And for me, it stemmed from the duo lane, man. Trix was finding so much aggression in this lane. Toddy was pretty much useless on this Chiron. I didn't really see any sort of aggression from them at all. I mean, when you're seeing how much Trix was able to do on this Sobek, he was just consistently blinking into the backline, finding so many plucks. I mean, his KD was insane, and he's on Sobek support. It's just nuts how aggressive and annoying he must have been to try to deal with, as well as the fact that Echrome was just popping off with like a 4-level lead on this Medusa as well.
And then Johnny, maybe not nearly the as impressive as the 11.5 KDA, but a 4.0 for how aggressive he was this game here. I mean, Johnny going into town here with this set. I mean, what more can we say? I mean, this man was getting doubles and triples in almost every single team fight. Even in ones like this where it looked like his team was on the back foot, Johnny's able to pop that Kingslayer and all that lifesteal, not just from the ability itself, but from that Bloodforge, paying dividends to this jungler.
Yeah, every time the kill comes, you just see that big shield, and you're like, well, there's no way we can kill this set, so we have to wait, and then the reset happens, and then another kill, and then another one. It was just super annoying to try to deal with this set because, again, all the pressure was not really on the set. It was sort of on the carries trying to kill off, trying to kill off Zeros, trying to kill off Echrome, where the set was able to just be pretty effective in that set. So very nice gameplay by them, but again, I think this all sort of stemmed to the fact that Rotwin on this E set was not able to find much success, finding a few little bit of CC, but just not enough damage. And again, Toddy on this Chiron, virtually ineffective. You just really weren't seeing much from the dual lane. I don't think they had enough pressure, and mostly it stems from the fact that Trix was just unstoppable on this Sobek.
Yeah, I mean, we were looking almost 17 minutes in, and Echrome was already level 19 versus Toddy's level 15. Rotwin was a few levels behind. Trix Tank was able to find consistent initiation on this pluck, and that's why it's a pick that we see banned away from him so much. I mean, we get into these leagues, and you always get to these individual matchups. You go, okay, what's a god that we can take away as a general pick? Okay, well, Heimdall is kind of that EU style of pick. You're going up against players like Mogao. We say, okay, we can ban Kumakarn. It's as weird as that sounds, saying we will ban Kumakarn. You don't question it as much on those ones. It's very similar here with Trix Tank and the Sobek pick.
Yeah, I don't think we should give Trix Sobek ever if we're looking at that matchup, because it didn't seem like they had any answers for it again. So trying to make sure that the duo lane gets a little bit more pressure. If you're the Gilded Gladiators right now, let's just try to find some sort of pressure in that lane, and I think getting rid of Sobek is a great way to start.
Yeah, let's see if the Gladiators can find some kickback here in game number 3, or are Hex Mambo going to keep this pace up as we jump into picks and bans for game number 3. Last time around, the Gladiators in their second pick spot, they were willing to ban away the Thoth because they didn't want to give that one up over to the side of Hex Mambo, but that just left so many other things that Hex Mambo were able to grab after the second pick was able to come through here. But as we jump into the bans already, it will continue to be this Heimdall train of bans here, at least out of the side of the Gladiators, but they're going to throw that Sobek right into there and say, all right, Trix Tank, you had your one game of fun. We're done with it.
Yeah, but Hex Mambo has also learned a little bit from these matches, and they are going to ban away that Thoth pretty much immediately. They don't want Sotos on this pick, and on the flip side, the Gladiators, they don't want Johnny on set, and they don't want Trix on the Sobek, as well as the Heim that we've seen banned time and time again. So nothing new about that one. So now the Gilded Gladiators, they have a few options here. They could take away that Medusa, or they could just try to find something else. This time around, it's going to be that Cthulhu.
It will be that massive Guardian for over in the solo lane now on the side of Gladiators. But a lot of stuff still open. Funny enough, game number 1, we saw Yamoja banned away, but game 2, we didn't see any priority thrown towards it by either of these teams. That could still be something up on the table here. Ganesh has always been one of those gods that Trix Tank likes to go back to as well. Even Bacchus is one of those ones he could pop here. But it'll be Chernobog and Mulan, so we have Deathwalker back on one of his signature picks.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Chernobog, though. We've seen a little bit of Chernobog. There's nothing wrong with it, per se, but if you're going from that game where you had insane dual lane pressure, you have the Sobek, you have the Medusa, this is pretty much the flip side. Chernobog does not want to get aggressive early at all, and sort of just wants to sit back in that lane until you can make those global rotations late game. So this is a complete flip of the script for Hex Mambo, but they were able to make it to like 40 minutes in game 1 despite that, so I don't think they're worried too much about the dual lane pressure right now.
Yeah, we'll be a Persephone locked alongside this Medusa here. So the backline carries on the side of the Gladiators have been locked in. And Hex Mambo, Johnny going to one of his old school picks here. This Kali was something that he was an absolute menace on back in Season 7 of the SCC, and then jumping into SPL. You know, last season, Season 8, we didn't get to see too much of the Kali because she really wasn't all that big until we started getting to the latter half of the season there. But now we're going to see Johnny go back onto one of his old faithfuls out here. Bans coming out, though, Khepri and Giannis. Maybe the most interesting one out of all of those. I mean, I know that Zeros has some not silly, some wild picks out there, but I don't know about a Giannis ban of all things there, Trelly.
Well, I think it's probably just the global pressure they don't want to deal with right now. You already have the Chernobog that you have to worry about, like the split push, things like that. So saying, hey, we don't want even more global pressure to deal with. We're going to ban that one away, and the Morgan. So that's, in my mind, that's 2 global bans, because 2 Chernobogs, it's pretty much the same concept, right? You could split push as the Morgan, turn into Chernobog, someone comes to help you out, stop that immediately. But as you mentioned, that Yamoja is going to be looked at here this time around. So we're looking at a Yamoja and a Chernobog duo lane. It's going to be a little bit out-pressured by the Fafnir and the Medusa, I would say. That's a lot of lockdown early, as well as the fact that, I mean, how many times can we talk about how much shred Medusa has in the early game? Viper Shot just does so much damage, especially off a stun like Fafnir Hammer.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a lot of bang for your buck there in that duo lane. If they can find one good hammer with somebody without beads, it could spell the beginning of the end here. But Maskill going to be going over for this Fenrir pick. It's something that he started the season off literally day 1, game 1 with a pentakill, and will look to continue to keep that strength up on this god. It's a pick that really only Maskill is going for, though. Not a lot of other teams as a whole, and very few players. I mean, pretty much just outside of Rotwin here. It seems that Maskill's the only one who still likes his Fenrir pick, Trelly.
Yeah, I like it a lot into this Kali specifically because usually Kali wants to start Blink, right? Johnny's trying to get a little bit aggressive in that, in that early stage of the game, and now you have to deal with a Fenrir probably going to have to be forced into that beat so you don't get put too far behind. And most people probably think right now, hey, Maskill's going to go full ability Mage Fenrir and probably fall off hard late game where Kali just wins, but that's not really the case. Maskill usually likes to build a little bit of auto attack based Fenrir, so still has some potent damage even in the late game, even if Brutalize is getting canceled out by, say, an Agni stun, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was what, like Jotun's Wrath and Stone Cutting and Serrated or something like that. If my memory serves correctly, that Maskill loved to go for those items. It'll be an Agni final pick here on Hex Mambo, so going to get some more of that range damage on the side of their mid laner Zeros, who had a great performance on it last game around, wants to continue that one up here in game number 3. As Hex Mambo crawled themselves back and found a win in game number 2. We'll see if they can keep up that same pace to bring themselves the victory here. And they need, I mean, they're sitting 1-2 in the standings right now, and a 2-2 would put them that much closer to securing a top 4 spot.
Yeah, as you mentioned, both of these teams need it pretty badly right now. But Hex Mambo, they were able to win that game too, and I think they have made some necessary adjustments, banning away some things they don't want to deal with, like the Thoth, for example, is not going to be a problem. Still, Persephone brings a little bit of range damage, but I feel like Johnny's going to be able to pretty much just find Kali, I mean, any sort of engage right now. It's hard for Persephone to live that dive, especially if you're able to jump over the Grasp of Death, especially when you force out that jump early. So it's going to be difficult, but I think the Gilded Gladiators have drafted themselves a pretty solid composition here, at least in the early game, to not let Johnny get to that late game portion where Kali really comes online.
Yeah, I'm looking over here at this Umoja, though, for Hex Mambo. Like I said, I got banned away in game 1. Nobody really looked at it in game number 2. We talk about how Umoja maybe slightly weaker this season just because the nature of Shell being available to go straight into that Phantom Shell very early, so you don't have to expend 2 different relics to kind of get that same effect out here. But she still seems to be such an effective god out here, even with the longer cooldown, that ultimate, all the CC, and the utility that she provides to her team really seems to make her a threat. So if you're this Gladiators team, how do you get to this backline? How do you shut down this Medusa so you give yourself a better chance of winning?
I mean, at this point, you probably are waiting for John. I mean, Johnny likes to play in the back, though, so you can't even wait for, like, a Blink Kali, because Johnny's going to say, hey, you guys go in. I'm still going to be this hard carry that comes in after the fact. So you got to be looking at tricks, trying to find some nice Riptides to displace them. Maybe a River's Rebuke is to trap in Cthulhu, because there's no way to get out of that unless you are using that Phantom Shell. So, I mean, whenever I look at this Hex Mambo roster, my eyes always go to Trix anyways. I mean, he's always going to be the forefront of that squad trying to engage. We saw it on the Sobek last game, and even though Yamoja doesn't have that same play style, that's how Trix plays no matter what. So I think we're going to see those stuns. We're going to see that displacement anyways, and then just look for those River's Rebuke. They're going to come through.
And back over here into the Soul Lane matchup, we saw it in game 1. It was the Cthulhu versus the Mulan. Mulan was definitely winning the lane, at least so to speak there. I mean, player damage through the roof for Deathwalker on this Mulan. Was getting advantage at the blue buffs, got those early towers. Couldn't really translate into the late game team fights, though. That was kind of where this Mulan was struggling to find a lot of the value. These little individual picks, Deathwalker was able to get some good utility out of this god, but kind of struggled when it came to those 5v5s.
Yeah, it didn't really seem like Deathwalker wanted to be that engage. He kind of just wanted to be sitting in the back and sort of looking for as much poke as possible, not going the blink. This time around, though, you have a little bit more engage, so he could optimize that way.
Well, let's see who's going to take it home here and win game 3 and the set. Will it be the Gladiators? Will it be the Mambo? Let's jump right into game number 3 just to see how it all breaks down. And it will be that Cthulhu versus Mulan matchup there. Nothing kind of out of the ordinary for these teams specifically through here. And for Deathwalker, still going for that same start that he had last time, the Warrior's Axe into the very early Kusari. So most likely that Genji's Guard rush that he had in game 1.
Yeah, but not opting to get the beads, putting zero respect on Maskill's Fenrir. So I mean, if I'm Maskill right now, I'm probably looking at that solo lane as quickly as possible. Once again, trying to find that early damage. I mean, getting Listemics ahead has got to be the name of the game here, especially when Deathwalker did so much damage on the Mulan last time, as you mentioned. So just trying to make sure they get ahead early and not let Johnny get to that late game portion where, I mean, not just Johnny, and looking at Echrome as well. Chernobog, pretty hard carry late game, but not so much in the early portion. So just trying to get to that point.
We saw this matchup in game number 2 between these two, having the Agni versus the Persephone. Rotwin jukes out the stun, but he's eating a lot of damage between Echrome and Trickstank. Not very often we see a Medusa Fafnir lane get out-pressured over here, but that's the power that Yemoja brings. I mean, being able to spam out those abilities with the Omi does make it to where she has quite a few extra casts out there compared to somebody else.
Yeah, they are going to steal away that Harpy, so that's going to be pretty solid for Hex Mambo, at least finding a little bit of that early pressure. But on the flip side, I think that Sotos is taking a lot of damage. Look at Johnny. He was trying to chase to those back camps there, so that could have been disastrous. I don't think we are able to see. I think Sotos probably has the 1 and the 3 at this point, not wanting to get aggressed upon, but Maskill looking at Deathwalker in the solo lane. Once again, no beads available.
Maskill fairly low. It'll just be over towards the totem for the 2 of the Gilded Gladiators to be able to clear that one out, get a little bit of that extra global experience over towards the team there. Rotwin jumps in aggressive versus 2, finds the stun on Trickstank, but no follow-up from Toddy. It'll just be an acid spray up against the waves. So Trickstank won't fear that pressure too much. It's 4 sets of beads on the side of Hex Mambo, all of them not wanting to deal with what Maskill can bring. Grapple onto Listemics and the Spirit Thrust after. Johnny over here will find the stun against Listemics. The lash is good. Listemics doesn't have that dash. A good fear gets Deathwalker away. And now with Maskill jumping in, Johnny is going to have to be the one on the run, and so is Deathwalker. Brutalize in. Gets the leap out of Johnny. Listemics will make it out thanks to that rotation from Mask.
Yeah, Maskill makes sure to blink in right away so that Johnny loses that aggression. But Zeros taking a little bit of poke here as well from the flowers from Soto. So a little bit of a brawl here, not only in the mid lane, but in the solo lane as well as Listemics dashes in. And look at this fight we have here. It looks like Johnny could get poked out, but beautiful grapple.
Grapple is good from Deathwalker. That holds off the aggression, but man, this brawl, this 2v2 over in solo lane has been back and forth. Maskill sustaining up with some potions. Johnny feared out, has to use the beads, a dash in, and the final after. Maskill will get credit to the kill, but can Deathwalker find a follow-up? No, the Mire will make sure to keep him zoned away. Listemics will be able to make it out. Can Maskill find a way to turn this one back around? We'll have to wait and find out right after this pause comes through here. First blood going the way of Gilded Gladiators, and a good one to put it onto.
Yeah, they had a lot of damage there, and they used their, not only the dash to just stun out perfectly, as well as the brutalize. A great fight from them, and especially the fact that I think Hex Mambo probably thought they were getting the better end of that, despite fighting into a Fenrir very early on. I mean, Deathwalker had a great cancel, as we mentioned, on that brutalize, so at that point, they probably like, hey, nice job, we can maybe go for our blue buff here. Not the case. There's still a lot of aggression, and fighting into mass kill right now, with Listemics having the great amount of peel for him, is going to be pretty solid for them, and now they get the first blood.
It's got to be good for Maskill to get first blood up against his opposition too, so Johnny will not hit level 5 as quickly as this Fenrir has, with a set of beads already taken away from Johnny. A perfect target for this Fenrir to grab here. Thought maybe we'd see something up against Echrome there. No mana on the side of the Hunter for Hex Mambo, but he'll be able to make it back to the tier 1 just in time. Rotwin really sticking around this left side lane a little bit more often. We'll find a leap in. Hammer is good. Toddy goes in. That gets the beads.
Oh,
but
wow.
the beads aren't going to save you from all that damage. Good lord. Toddy finds one. And Maskill finds the pickup on a Deathwalker. Gets the ultimate out of the Mulan. And then returned aggression into the dual lane. But now it's the 2v1. Deathwalker's got nowhere to go. And it's Listemics to put him down.
Maskill has found the ult on a Deathwalker now, making sure that, hey, there's no beads available here. I'm pulling him into tower. Listemics comes in, clutch for the retreat, but Toddy I mean, hitting every auto, every Viper shot auto, the acid spray off, even though E-Chrome beads, it's just a great play, making sure to miss no sort of damage in that duo lane. Complete opposite of what happened last game, where it was just no sort of duo pressure. Right now, looking great in that duo lane. Masskill's got a kill, Lastemics has a kill, and now Sotos gonna take a little bit of damage.
Rotwin will walk through the offerings. A jump in by Rotwin. Will not find a hammer. Instead, in the grasp of death, off the mark, wide right from the mid laner. But Johnny stunned out in the midst of all of them. Pops to destruction, looking at Rotwin. But Rotwin will be able to walk himself on out. Instead, Masskill goes in with a brutalize, and Sotos puts him down with the damage right after. E-Chrome joins the fight, but Masskill's got to leap to find his way out. A new 3v3 in this mid. But it will not go the way of Mambo. It's 4 kills now for the Gladiators.
Man, that is really bad for E-Chrome, though. Ulting over to mid lane, you're losing the offering Harpy on left, probably your Harpy on right as well. There's a lot of farm to be had in that duo lane that right now E-Chrome is not able to get. So Toddy just going to climb ahead even more, and Deathwalker could be in some trouble here. Lastemics has the dash. It's going to be close.
Brutalize stopped out there by that grapple, but Masskill doesn't have the health or the mana to continue that fight in. Rotwin even rotating over to keep Johnny from jumping in the midst of these fights. Beads are now back up for Johnny for the next team fight that will ensue. But Masskill able to make it out there, continue this aggression on the Fenrir, and this is a reason why we see Masskill go to this pick. He loves getting aggressive early, and this is a perfect god for him to do it with.
Yeah, Deathwalker gonna hide behind that tower until the lane gets cleared so that Lastemics doesn't starve him out of some XP. Some much needed XP, we will add. Deathwalker obviously right now only gets a tier 2 magic defense item, which is not helping against Masskill, who has shown a lot of aggression in this solo lane. So right now Deathwalker's gonna have a hard time clearing these waves, upgrading those abilities. I mean, it's just gonna be very difficult to try and survive here. So Masskill probably will look towards that solo lane a bit more. Johnny, though, on this Kali, 0-2 at the moment, has been finding some aggression, trying to fight as much as possible. But look at the build right now. I have the jungle in a tier 2 balance blade, probably trying to get that kin size online ASAP, and really has found no success. So Johnny really, that ticking time bomb, trying to get to level 20 as quickly as possible, stunned out a little bit right now by Masskill's aggression.
Yeah, it's a different style of build than some of the Kalis of late that we've been seeing, where they go for Crusher very early. We'll talk about that in a moment, though. Sotos finds a big ult, but a better Riptide out of Tricksink will make sure him and Zeros can get out. But that's 2 sets of beads burned away, and Masskill is in the area on the hunt for anybody that he can find here. But a different style of Kali build, going for this kin size early rush. Will be able to pay out for Johnny. Ultimate picks up the Kali, a leap in. We'll find a stun afterward. Rotwin getting a lot of damage through. Masskill needs one more hit to find him, but he will not get it. Johnny instead gets credit for the assist after E-Chrome finding the crit kill there to put Mambo up. Stun under Rotwin will not be enough, just some bomb damage afterwards, but a good turnaround by Mambo.
Yeah, E-Chrome, that was a clutch ultimate. The first one, not so much, sort of just wasted farm at that point, but that one, not only are you able to save Johnny, you're able to get the kill there, which is going to help out a ton. Of course, Johnny doesn't get the credit, which kind of stinks for him. He probably wanted at least a little bit of gold right now. You're 0-2 in the jungle, but getting your ADC, a solid kill, and answer back to the pressure that Toddy's been having in that lane, probably a solid point at this one. So Masskill, unfortunate, will fall at that point. Try to find a lot of aggression up at the support buff. And it looks like Johnny might be looking at Rotwin as well, but a hammer, probably enough.
Ooh, big hammer, almost some big follow-up by Sotos there, but just a tad too late. A leap comes up from Johnny to get him out. Bomb out of Zeros, and another rotation from Masskill. No ultimate to the Fenrir yet. Instead, it's targeted aggression towards the red buff. That one will be swiftly cleared out by the Gilded Gladiators to remove some XP from Mambo and put that buff around Sotos' waist. That's going to be a massive damage spike comparison to what Zeros has.
Yeah, looking at Zeros, has the Spear of Desolation online right now. Not really often to go for that Divine Ruin. Doesn't really feel like getting it in that first slot, whereas Sotos does have that Divine Ruin. Recognizes that, you know, Mulan's got a lot of healing, Kali has the passive healing, and there's a Yamoja on the map, by the way. So that's a lot of, you know, HP that you don't want to deal with. Trying to get that Divine Ruin. A little bit of anti-heal online is going to go a long way for Sotos. Level 10 in that mid lane, looking very solid right now, but E-Chrome going to find a little bit of aggression as Toddy just dashes away.
Masskill going for something new here. No, normally we were seeing that more auto-attack-centric build. Still could be going. It's down that somewhat similar route there at the very least. Maybe a Berserker Shield here, but not going for the stone cutting that we had seen previously. It was like stone cutting serrated. Deathwalker used the ultimate. Masskill goes in to pick him up, but Johnny is waiting as soon as he lands down in. Stun just off the mark. Johnny will leap in, but he gets the blink out of Masskill. Lastemics has that dash to get out and descend into madness, just to make sure that nobody on Hex Mambo continue that chase. As once again, E-Chrome has rotated over towards this lane to try and get this fight going. but won't come up with anything this time.
Echrome is over here as Rawan makes the rotation as well, but look at Toddy just going back the lane to try and farm up at this point. There is no one in that lane to match this farm, so Toddy gets as much as possible. Look at this tier 1 tower here. Rawan has the Interceptor. They have some damage, and they're going to get it, and they might look at Deathwalker, but it looks like the call is going to be retreat, but Trix Tank does have the River's Rebuke.
Trix Tank does get stunned out as soon as he throws that ult, though, so no follow-up. And no way of stopping Lysimics or Rotwin from getting out of there. Johnny rotates over, finds the 1v1 up against Toddy, but Toddy is missing a lot of this damage up to him. Used the Petrify, but Johnny does not care. He's got beads, he's got ult, and that's a kill for the jungler of Hex Mambo. Rotwin still sticking around on this right-hand side. Not sure what this Fafnir is hoping to accomplish, fighting up against 3 people. Finds a stun on Echrome, but that's going to be the end of that.
Yeah, Sotos is making that rotation over. Might look at this purple buff here as Johnny does back up, so a little bit of an invade, but nope, just jumps out and decides not to go for that invade instead. So Sotos is not going to clean up that, but will push the wave, it looks like, in left lane, so get a little bit of farm in that regard. I'm surprised that Toddy was able to get soloed out there. Johnny, level 9 Kali with just kin size, probably isn't supposed to win that one, but if you catch Toddy's dash, you're able to just pop that destruction and outbox at that point. So unfortunate for Toddy, does get that lacerate blocked and has to try and 1v1 Akali with ultimate. That's not going to work out for you at this point. So the Hex Mambo, they're finding avenues back into this game. They went down a little bit, but they have found some targeted aggression. Besides that tier 1 tower, a lot going right for them right now.
And not just that, I mean, Toddy missed like 3-4 autos up against Johnny there. Part of the other reason why that trade goes so sour there. But it is really difficult to just kill a Kali outright early on, especially one that has that destruction ultimate online. So Johnny was never in really any true threat there. Probably didn't want to use the beads to make sure to secure that kill, but did use it anyways, and the ultimate. That guaranteed the kill there. That's 2 on the board for Hex Mambo on 11 minutes in. Gold lead in favor of the Gilded Gladiators. They've got about a 3K lead up so far in this early game. That one tier 1 tower plus the added aggression that's been going through this solo lane and this mid lane has paid dividends so far for this team.
Yeah, I'm honestly really surprised at how much Echrome's been rotating, but it's been working out. Usually you see this Chernobog sort of just AFK farm, try and pull someone over and make that rotation. But right now Echrome's saying, I don't even care about like pushing my waves right now. I'm going to help out my squad as much as possible. I think 2 clutch ultimates right now for one that was kind of wasted at this point, but still the Chernobog pick is working out. Look at Masskill though, showing some face over here in the duo lane, trying to find maybe a gank on Echrome, but recognizing pretty much immediately that underneath that tower with the immunity that Chernobog has built into the kit, probably not a kill opportunity.
Yeah, the only person he can really grab here would be Johnny. No beads for another 35 seconds on the Kali, but Johnny is nowhere to be found on this left side. Instead, he's gone all the way to the right to farm up the jungle that's respawning over there. Instead, it's Gladiators grouping around this Gold Fury. And they do have a Fafnir. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the fact that Fafnir is one of the best Guardians at helping to shred objectives down with that core. Still go in to the Dragon Transformation. They don't even have their Hunter here to burn this one. This is just the DPS of the rest of the players on this map. And now that Toddy is here, the River's Rebuke crashed down. Gold Fury not going to be taken away here. Trix Tank trying to steal it away with the bubble, but does not do so. It's the Gladiators getting the Gold Fury.
I think that Petrify was a little late. I think that could have been bad there, yeah, but it looks like Sanity Break was able to confirm that one. So at least the Gilded Gladiators get the pull that they wanted, and it works out for them. Deathwalker is not going to make that rotation over. I think immediately recognizes, hey, you guys have a lot of pressure over there. I'm just going to push my lane, steal away a blue buff, try to get as much farm as possible, and that is going to be the best option for him at this point. The teleport not even upgraded, so really couldn't have gotten there that quickly. This time around, though, the Gilded Gladiators have found this early lead, but surprisingly, Echrome's actually a level up in this duo lane, despite having all these rotations made where Toddy just sat and farmed.
Yeah, we have Sotos with a slight lead in the mid lane, though, here, level 14 to 13. And at the most, it's like one level back and forth between a couple different spots on the map, most of them in favor of the Gladiators. Pyromancer started up. Johnny looping around the backside here. Zero throws a couple of bombs at Lysimics. Pyromancer does go down to the Gilded Gladiators a little bit early on the bomb there by Zeros to try and steal that one away. Greater Scorpion under fire by the Gladiators. And Hex Mambo to maybe steal that one away. It does get leashed. But just Trix taking Johnny up here. Now it's Zeros clearing out the wave. That Scorpion will go the way of the Gilded Gladiators. So they will have those next rotation of Enhanced Buff. Masskill gets the jump out, and he'll be fine for now.
Yeah, the Gilded Gladiators probably just want to back up at this point. I mean, you get 2 free objectives. You don't really need to fight the Hex Mambo. They're smart to try to get some aggression and try to find a pick here or there because, again, there's no objective on the map. So they have nothing really over to fight for, and they just lost a fair chunk of gold. So trying to find a pick before they can back and spend it, definitely a smart call. Not going to be the option, though, this time around. Just spending up some of that gold. And they're not really going to look to get aggressive. So at least the Gilded Gladiators recognize that, hey, we don't really want to post up here. Looking at the XP lead, as you mentioned, though, still level 11 for these supports, so we haven't seen that second relic slot, what they want to go for. I mean, I have to imagine Rotwin now is going into that Shogun's Husari, trying to get some attack speed for the squad. Fafnir, as you mentioned, has a lot of shred for these objectives. Maybe a Frenzy or a Brace or something to help with that objective damage, because you already have the shell that can be going into that Phantom Shell for the River's Rebuke, trying to walk through those walls. So a little bit more objective shred, never hurt anybody.
We'll be in a 3-man group up for the right side of mid-Harpy camps here. Ward control for the Gladiators on the lower end of that mid-camp at the least here. Fire Giant, the only neutral objective standing on the map as of now, but no team really wanted to take that, even with the 4K gold lead that the Gladiators had. That's not quite enough for that pull, especially not with their hunters all the way on the opposite side of the map here. Toddy eating a lot of poke from this Chernobog. It's not often that we would get to say that a Chernobog has pressure over a Medusa, but Echrome, even with a couple of questionable ults in some of these team fights, has somehow just been managing to find ways of getting farm even through those rotations.
Yeah, every time you ult's over, you better be at least taxing a wave at that point, because the presence in the slow is enough to say, hey, I'm going to help you out in this fight. You better give me at least some of these camps that are over here. So Echrome, again, finding some pressure in this lane, finding the farm to help out this Chernobog pick. But Toddy, not in a terrible spot either. Finishes the full Wind Demon, so going to have a little bit better time boxing, whereas Echrome sort of forced into this kin size. When you look over and you see a Cthulhu, that's usually the option for the ADC right now. So Echrome is going to finish that one up and get a power spike in his own right. And we still have not seen what Rotwin wants to get for that second relic, whereas Trix is just going to get the shell and the bead. So that's going to be a nice start. But again, going for that wing blade, Trix tank just loves movement speed, man. Calling Thebes into that wing blade and then a Lotus Crown. The same start as that Terra.
Yeah, but when you look at it, I mean, he is going to be lining up against 2 frontliners who have some good slows on them, Cthulhu and Rotwin with this Fafnir. So maybe just a smart pick in general just for what he's going up against. But yeah, I mean, this is 3 games in a row now that Trix Tank has gone for this item. Just a lot of extra HP, some magic defense to it. Trix Tank on this Yamoja. We'll see if he can get active here a little bit earlier on. Still haven't seen Rotwin go back, so we don't know what that last rug is going to be. But with Deathwalker hitting that level 12 earlier, did pick up a set of beads, so now everybody has a way of getting away from Mass Kill's ult.
Yeah, putting a lot of respect on the Ragnarok is really the best way to deal with Fenrir, I'd say. If you are just sort of egoing that ult and getting pulled back in consistently, even late game, you'll make it so that Fenrir never falls off. Usually a lot of people are like, man, Fenrir is so strong, his early game is so annoying, but that late game portion is where you sort of get to see those, you know, the negative sides of the Fenrir, where, man, it's hard to get a good Ragnarok when everyone has beads. Once I waste my ult, I sort of just die. This time around, 5 beads, that's going to help out a ton, as well as the fact that Deathwalker's been looked at a fair bit right now in this solo lane because of that ultimate. So just smart to stay in that lane. Still no teleport upgrade, though. Deathwalker still has not made that choice, so doesn't really have the rotation capability. As we know, this Oni Fury is about to spawn in, and neither solo laner is that close right now.
Berserkers and Brawlers will be the next 2 items for the Gladiators jungler mass kill. Whereas we were talking about more auto attack style build, now building into a katana, so we'll get to see maybe a little bit more of that. Serrated edge could be the option there. We've also seen that stone cutting sword in that same spot there for the jungler. We'll see where the rest of this build pans out for mass kill at the very least here. But look at this third item out of Sotos, Rod of Tahuti, very early on in this game.
Yeah, Sotos probably was going for the Karhan's coin and then just said, hey, I got a lot of gold. I'm just going to build Rod of Tahuti anyways. I mean, we like to try and analyze why. Well, maybe there was like a huge power spike there, but Sotos is just like,
I got money.
Yeah, I have a lot of seed money. I've been dropping a lot of seeds. I get gold every time I go back. So I'm just going to spend that on Rod of Tahuti this time around. But Zeros does not have seed money and is going to go for the Karhan's coin. So just a little bit more of that percentage penetration, a little bit less damage, but it'll pay off late game if you are able to get it stacked up as Tricks here. Maybe trying to find a River's Rebuke, but stepping pretty far up. Maskill's going to join the fight as well, and even the solo laners have rotated in.
Echrome's over here too with that ultimate. It's now 5 versus 4 as Johnny is on the left side of the map. All of that setup, all of that action to get you amped up, and then nothing happened. Everybody has already dispersed themselves and will go back to their respective lane. But you're right to highlight there, all that extra gold that Sotos is getting from those pomegranates. Zeros, he doesn't get pomegranates. There's no pomegranates for him, no pomegranate seeds, and no extra gold his way. We'll Group up around the Oni Fury. Gladiators will pull it. How long will they hold on is the question to that one. Deathwalker and Trixting at the front line here. Oni Fury leashed. That's because Maskill's been dropped to half HP up against Johnny. Deathwalker finds ult against Rotwin, who's down to half health. Grabs the death, block a couple in place. River's Rebuke will find an exit point for a couple, but Echrome gets jumped on, has to use the beads. Rotwin, though, falling low, pops the shell for a little bit of extra safety, but Johnny is back in the fight, finds the stun, up against support. Destruction will find the last hit of the kill. Johnny now has to leap away though because he's taking a lot of poke through. Zeros finds one onto Maskill and the swipes in, but it's not going to be enough. Lestemics needs a little bit more to find that kill, but Echrome uses the wall. He dashes away, but he won't get away from the knockup of the solo laner, but it's 3 down for the Gladiators for only 1 of the Mambo.
Yeah, Johnny was able to hide until the very key moment here, and he does it again. Sotos gets caught out as well. Johnny just hiding around corners
Reset
until he can find kills. We'll get the passive as Lestemics gets pulled back in by Deathwalker. Zeros has to be clutch with these bombs. Doesn't have it though, and Lestemics might be able to zoom on out of here, and he will, but look at the Gold Fury right now. You have this shred from the Kali. Johnny and Trix are passing it back and forth, and it looks like the Oni Fury will go the way of Hex Mambo. Just clutch positioning by this Kali, making sure to wait for the leap to be used, and they might have, yeah, Zeros is going to have to come and help out.
Yeah, he needed to go there. Not quite enough damage to take it by just their lonesomes there, but with Zeros rotating in, Oni Fury now goes to Hex Mambo. Experience 3,300 in their favor, but the gold still slightly up here for the Gladiators, about 1,200 to their name as far as that boost is concerned. But you can see where the levels are starting to pop out here. Everybody but that mid lane matchup has a 1-level lead on the side of Hex Mambo. And now with some items starting to be built up, Zero's able to get 3 stacks of that Charon's coin during the fight. And Trixtank, with all that money to spend, goes back and picks up a full Lotus Crown.
Yeah, Johnny had 3k gold on that back, finishes the Silver Branch Bow, and now building into a few different options. Probably that Serrated, as we mentioned. So there's going to be a lot of damage, maybe even stone cutting, actually, because the percentage pen has already been taken care of. You have a few different options, but basically, this Kali, short answer here, is going to be doing a lot of shred. Yeah, Johnny, obviously, positioned perfectly in that fight to just wait, try to get the target reset, and once it happens, you're going to be snowballing towards that late game portion of the fight where you can get this upgrade out of the jungle and really just be a menace to the opposition. Right now, though, it looks like Maskill and Rotwin are trying to catch out Johnny here.
Johnny has the leap, gets away from the Ragnarok, and Maskill will elect to not pick up Trixtank. Instead, try and escape as fast as he can. Will manage to find a way out alongside Rotwin. So Ragnarok already burned out. Big bombs coming from Zeros, but both of them missing on the tail end of that. Maskill taking a very weird pathing to find his way out of this jungle. Thought maybe he'd walk into the mid lane, decides to make a hard left turn and go back through his jungle, go towards these back camps here. But Hex Mambo have 4 grouped around this mid lane, Deathwalker in tow around fire.
Yeah, Johnny is going to go try to catch out Toddy, but Toddy will get the back off in that regard. Rotwin, though, taking a lot of damage and stuck in the rivers here, has to go into the Dragon. And I don't think they have the follow-up for this one, so they are just going to take the Draconic Transformation and call that a day. So Rotwin probably just going to cancel that one and get it on cooldown, but Toddy has made the rotation now, and they could look for an engage in this mid lane.
Zeros had to go back to base, ate that ultimate from Sotos, and that was enough to turn that fight at least to an even standing here. But Rotwin still with this dragon form, has a little bit of extra time on it. We'll use it to jump away instead. Go back to base for the duo lane and a reset for the Gilded Gladiators. But that 1.2k that they had earlier on is now all the way back up to 3, even despite none of the fights happening throughout here. Gladiators have just been finding extra little bits of farm so far.
Yeah, Toddy decided not to rotate over, got the tier 1 tower and left, then made the late rotation over where Hex Mambo, they used a lot of ults, tried to find some picks and really didn't, but they found the answer back. Another tier 1 tower, this time in mid lane for Hex Mambo, so just trying to answer back some of that gold. Maskill, though, does find a nice stun and gonna look for Echrome's beat and gets him.
Gets him, but loses 3/4 of his HP. Echrome eats a lot there from Toddy. Massive damage coming from that Viper Shot Acid Spray combo from the Medusa. And that's the potency that we keep talking about. It's the danger that we keep, alluding to every time we talk about Medusa on the desk, every time we talk about her in game. That's what she can do if she can just get one, not even a full rotation, a half a rotation of her kit on you.
Yeah, she's pretty much full build at this point as well, just working on that Deathbringer and has the option to go into Death's Embrace or Death's Temper, respectively. Usually we see that Death's Embrace just for the extra healing, but we saw the Death's Temper built in this set, just with the Odibo combo, trying to get a lot of those Silver Branch procs. So either one is going to be possible here, but Maskill already knows right now. I mean, You get the beads down from E-Chrome. It has no Aegis available. Looking to get aggressive, but Johnny has a lot of shred, and look at Lystemix' HP.
Look at Johnny. He's down to half. He'll jump back in and continue the aggression up. That haste and katana is letting him stick to Lystemix like glue. Destruction is up for Johnny. He'll use that to close in the gap, and that'll get him a full-on HP reset. Getting the kill up here against the solo laner. Gilded Gladiators now without their major front line. And Maskill doesn't quite have the tankiness to go in by himself.
Yeah, Lystemix, game 1 on this Cthulhu went into the Nemean in that slot, but this time around goes for the Void Stone. And I would argue there's even more physical damage than last time, so putting a little bit more respect on how much magic damage they have, and not so much on the Kali that's going to be shredding you late game. So I would not be surprised if Lystemix tries to get a Nemean online at this point, but it's a little bit too little too late. That pick goes through. Rotwin gets pulled in by Deathwalker and pushed back by Trix. So much aggression.
Not again.
Oh, no.
He got him with another Riptide. Rotwin can't find his way. That's 3 times he's walked into the same thing. He's not able to get away for that time, but now able to finally walk his way out. Just unfortunate circumstance there. It feels like I was watching like a relapse of watching the Warriors yesterday when Mule was kept just throwing Riptide after Riptide. Now it's Maskiller around 4. Does he have a leap to find his way out? No, it's a stun. And onto a stun. Johnny, credit to the kill, and ult from Sodos. Won't get a whole lot of value there as it's all completely healed back up by Trix Tank.
Yeah, the Gladiators 4 strong here might try to defend this Fire Giant, but they have lost a key player in their team fight. Maskill, the Ragnarok, is not going to be available. Rotwin trying to juke out the pull by Deathwalker as he's zoning 5, sort of by himself at the moment, but Zeros has bombs.
Bombs are good from Zeros to keep everybody at bay here. Lystemix all the way to the back line. Has the Sense to the Madness. Will dash in and has the time to use that ultimate. It's got to be now if he wants to get it. Will use it. Hex Mambo do get the Fire Giant, but can they get the fight after? Deathwalker stun has to use the beads because the ult is already down. Hex Mambo, they get the objective, and then all 5 are able to find their way out without using too much afterwards. Just the ult from Deathwalker and a couple of relics.
Yeah, Johnny is looking pretty much unstoppable at this point. Level 20 has used both relics at this point, but you got the Fire Giant buff. You are late game Kali. As far as I'm concerned, you have made it to that portion of the game where Kali can sort of auto win you a fight if you can just get your passive reset. So if I'm looking at the Gilded Gladiators right now, Maskill has some big shoes to try and fill. You gotta try and CC this Kali, not let her shred down your tanks. Odibo just bought outright for Johnny, so that's gonna be even more shred happening right now. The AoE damage as well with those lightning charges going back and forth. It's gonna be super difficult to try and peel off. The Gilded Gladiators have to have their CC on point and just pretty much put it all into the Kali. Sort of like the set from last game. It's just a lot of late game hard carry potential that it's here. It's online.
Johnny just needs to finish up that starter, as you're saying. Lystemix, a little bit before his ult is back online, does have that Blood-Soaked Shroud now, so a little bit of extra physical defense starting to build maybe now towards that Nemean line as he's got that tier 1 breastplate online to start things out. But left side tier 1 goes down, right side, or left side tier 2 should be short to follow after, though without the carry here, could take them a little while longer. E-Chrome on the opposite side of the map to stop Maskill from getting this push in there, but Maskill's doing a lot of damage to this tier 2 tower. He'll have to leap himself out of there while Johnny shreds away the tier 2 in mid. So now only 1 tower remaining. E-Chrome dives in aggressive up against Maskill, gets the Ragnarok out of the jungler here. Maskill on full retreat, but and maybe even a close in from Johnny.
Yeah, they're gonna chase him down here. Maskill's gonna have to put on the juke shoes. They're picking him out as well. You have like 2 options here. Just run them around as much as you can or try to back in the base. Right now, Maskill is gonna go for the back, but Johnny's not gonna know where he's at and just gonna back as well. Unfortunate, Maskill makes it out, wastes some ultimates, and your Phoenix is safe, so pretty solid play for the Gladiators. They don't get that tier 2 tower, which I'm sure Maskill would have preferred, but you wasted out a fair bit of time on this FG as well.
Yeah, you also got E-Chrome's ultimate there, but now as we start approaching, when we still have a couple of minutes left on this Fire Giant buff for the Hex Mambo, E-Chrome, even without an ultimate, all relics are up for Hex Mambo. They can make their push in, and a Dominance now finished up, so that Crusher sold away for a little bit of extra power and some of that big extra penetration now that E-Chrome has on this Chernobog. And good luck to Lystemix. Still doesn't have that Nemean line online. He was getting shredded just by Johnny alone. Now that E-Chrome's got a lot of that extra percent pen online, that Cthulhu is going to have some troubles.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Cthulhu to live through these fights, especially underneath a Phoenix trying to like face tank auto attacks for the Phoenix. It's not going to work out too well. We've seen how much penetration that they all have and a huge power spike to E-Chrome. So Going to be very difficult here. They are going for this right Phoenix first instead of that, or the right tower first instead of that left Phoenix that we saw them try to go for a bit ago. But this time they're just going to go for the right Phoenix. It looks like Trix is going to lead the charge here. They have the River's Rebuke if they need, but Johnny's going to go mid and take the 1v1 with, it looks like, Maskill, who will try to defend mid lane as well.
Johnny doesn't have a wave for a while here. Lestemix is already getting chewed up by the damage of Hex Mambo. Johnny now rotating back over as a minion wave has made its way into the Phoenix. A little bit slow to clear this one out. Ekrom's able to free cast for a bit. River's Rebuke already expended now out of Trixink to zone the fight away. Rotwin goes up into the Dragon and has to leap away as soon as he gets down. Toddy getting destroyed by Deathwalker in the backline, but Petrify, a turnaround kill for Toddy, takes down the solo laner, and that's huge, at least to hold off on a base defense here. But it's a 1-for-1 as Johnny is able to return the fire.
No way that they don't go for this Phoenix though. Trix is full HP, Ekrom's full HP, they have the heals. It looks like they are going to be able to get this one, but there will be a 1v1 in the jungle right now. Johnny's trying to juke out the Ragnarok, and he will.
Able to get away, but can Johnny go back in? He already used the stun. Now he's got Ekrom as backup. Ekrom will dash on in, but will not find the root combo after. He's going to need a little bit of extra help, and maybe Johnny can bring it here. No, the slow from the Mire. Maybe just enough to hold Johnny back, but he's got a lot of movement speed. He should be able to catch up to Maskill very quickly. Maskill cannot take that brutalized fight.
And it looks like Johnny does have the speed buff, so the chase down will ensue. And I don't think, unless Sotos has the ult, which Sotos does not have the ult, there's no way you can save the jungle right now. So Johnny is unstoppable, 7-2 right now on the jungle of or the Kali jungle, I should say. They do get the right Phoenix as well. So a solid win right now for Hex Mambo. You have a solid gold lead as well, but you know, plus side for the Gladiators, that Phoenix will be pretty easy to defend here. If you do want to post up to this Fire Giant, pretty easy to clear that wave and take the little journey up to Fire Giant here as it is spawning in currently. It will be enhanced and you're down a man, but the Gilded Gladiators, they have to form a defense somewhere. I'd rather do it here than under the Titan at this point.
Yeah, with only one Phoenix down, it's the one closest to that Fire Giant pit. Gilded Gladiators will step up, but so will Deathwalker. It's him versus the world right now. A grapple onto Rotwin, a stun to follow up. Already takes a quarter health away from the Fafnir. Rotwin walks forward, and now there's a Riptide that he's not going to be able to make out. River's Rebuke just barely catches the little dragon out. Will be an ultimate there, and that's enough to get him to jump himself on out. Grasp of Death holds back Hex Mambo for only a moment longer because it's a grapple from Deathwalker to find the pick onto Rotwin. Ekrom credit to the kill, and Mambo find two.
I'm surprised they're going back for this enhanced Fire Giant. I mean, it's definitely the smart play, but 5v3, just the carries up. You have Khalil. Probably could have went for the end there. I guess no beads, though, if you are Johnny, so could have been pulled into the well by the Ragnarok. A smart call to just go for the enhanced Fire Giant instead, even though you have the lead. But look at Johnny. Might be pushing up in this mid lane, and Maskill's going to look for the fight, and Johnny's going to jump away.
And that'll be the end of that one, because now Ekrom has rejoined the fight. A dash on in, and why don't you throw a few basic attacks out there? Ekrom puts down Maskill. It's 12 seconds until the other two members of Gilded Gladiators are back up for this fight with one Phoenix down. Hex Mambo can walk right in. They'll take a Phoenix along the way. 2 seconds on Lestemix and Rotwin. The frontliners are now back into this fight, but Toddy's got to use both relics to get out.
Yeah, Toddy has nothing to try and survive and keep this Titan afloat, but they're not going for the end. They want to get this left Phoenix first. I mean, they have so much damage. Johnny has destruction to sort of just tank Titan and do as much damage as possible while defying death. I think the siege is going to start here. They're waiting for Trix, and he's going to be the first one in.
Johnny goes in, and so does Lestemix. Uses that dash now aggressively up against Ekrom. Has the Sentinel Madison, will use it, but it's Johnny versus Toddy. And Toddy goes down. Zero's credit to the kill. Johnny has got to leap away, though. But Rotwin falls to Ekrom. Lestemix, now the eye of the target for the side of Hex Mambo. He is down to basically slivers, pennies of health. Johnny takes him down. Sotos on the run, but Johnny will close that one out for a double kill. And the game going to Hex Mambo. Sure, they fall in game number 1, but they come back cleanly in games 2 and 3.
If the question was, can they get this late game Kali to late game, the answer is a resounding yes. I mean, Johnny was getting very successful ganks, even in the early portions of the game where Kali shouldn't be successful, and then late game, I mean, we saw what they were able to do. Just great team fight play by Hex Mambo. They found the leads they needed, and their objective confirmed was very solid as well.
Hex Mambo going to finally find themselves a much-needed win out here. They'll be able to put themselves at 2 and 2 in the standings. The Gladiators will now fall down to 2 and 2. We'll break down a little bit of that and more right after this. Well, the Hex Mambo able to reverse sweep the Gilded Gladiators here in our first set of the day to take a win and push themselves up in the standings and get themselves that much closer to a top 4 spot. That way they can try and secure their place to make it to the Masters Tournament later on here. But in game number 3, Hex Mambo a little bit back and forth again to kind of start this one out here. But kind of a second verse, same as the first out here from game 2 now to game number 3, Charlie, where Johnny is just left pretty much unchecked for the majority of the game. A couple of moments where he got at least, CC'd away, but for the most part, man, Johnny really just running the show here.
Yeah, it seemed like Mazkel recognized how much Johnny was doing and tried to stop it with the Ragnaroks, tried to find those 1v1s, but Johnny's positioning was just too solid. He was always in the right place at the right time to find those kills on Kali, and the safety of this pick as well, just not being able to die in these team fights, just always came in clutch. So the shred capability of Johnny really shone through here.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just an old reliable pick, an old faithful here out of Johnny. I mean, this Kali is something he has been running for years now in the amateur scene. It's worked, I'm not going to say every single time, but it's worked out very well for him throughout all of this one, and especially when he gets this late game full build. I mean, he is just a chainsaw going through every single person that stands before him.
Yeah, again, once I saw Listemics get really shredded down, I looked at the build and saw like double magical defense, I was like, okay, this game's got to be over, right? I mean, you let Johnny get to this late game Kali, and then you really didn't itemize that well towards it so that you couldn't even stop it in the early game. I mean, again, Mazkel really did try to find that early pressure that Fender does have, but it just wasn't enough. And once you get to that late game portion, it just doesn't work out. Even Deathwalker, the kill stat line does not really reflect how much he was able to face tank in this fight. He was always leading the charge here, trying to find those pull-ins. And Tricks tank on these Riptides, man. How many times did we see Rotwin get pulled back in by those Riptides? The displacement was just so nice.
Yeah, I mean, the 1-2-12 on Deathwalker, like you said, not really indicative of how much he was actually able to put in for this game. As you can see, second highest on the damage chart for his team here, 21K on the Mulan. And we saw the prior Phoenix Siege where Deathwalker goes in the back line, almost solos Toddy, but unfortunately he was also tanking the Phoenix and tanking the damage from Toddy. So because of that, he did end up taking a spill during there. At least able to trade out his life to get one. Rotwin went down in the midst of that fight here. But, I mean, Johnny, even though his damage number isn't at the top there, it really just does feel like his damage numbers were much higher just because of how much he was actually able to get through in a lot of these fights.
Yeah, I mean, Kali doesn't have that much poke, so all the damage that you do see is pretty much just auto attack shred on your targets, trying to get those resets. We saw the KD, and again, the positioning I have to give more props to, because sort of just hiding behind the wall, waiting for these leaps to come down, waiting for the relics to be used, and then you're able to just go in and make this huge impact. This whole set, Johnny, was like, it seemed like he was in the right place at the right time, except for game number 1, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, Hex Mambo finally getting a win for themselves here. Not their first win, but their second full set win. That'll bump themselves up in the standings a little bit and put a little bit of a hurt here on the Gilded Gladiators, just because, again, these sets are very important. The top 4 from both EU and NA will move on to play in the Masters tournament in a few weeks down the road, and a chance to play up against some of the SPL talent. But that was only our first set of the day. We got 4 total, and we got 1 more out of EU. Let's take a look at the schedule to see what that one is going to be for you guys out here. First set of the day done with Hex Mambo getting the 2-1 over the Gilded Gladiators. But next up is going to be the 6 Ferrymen and the Highland Ravens. Make sure that you're tuning in for that one. Another very important set for both these two teams. And then tomorrow, before SPL starts up, we'll have the Niflheim Wargs up against the Aru Scorpions for our third and final EU set of this week. But there is still one more week, so this isn't the last chance for these teams to get wins, but every single win right now matters, because it is only that single round of the round robin out here, so you only get to fight these teams once. You got to make sure you get those wins.
Yeah, right now, especially this set, Hex Mambo, massive win for them. If you're right on that cusp of like 5th to 4th slot, you want to make sure you're getting these wins in right now. As we mentioned, very crucial that you're in that top 4 spot if you want to make it to the Masters, as we mentioned. So one more week for them. Niflheim Warg still at the top right now. Aru Scorpion still on the bottom, but we just saw Hex Mambo take a little bit of a lead over the Gilded Gladiators, securing that number 3 for right now.
Yeah, nice little push up there with the Ravens, and the Ferrymen is the next one. That's also equally important. If the Ferrymen can find a win there, that'll give us a kind of this 4-way little block of 2 and 2 between the 2nd and the 5th seed out there. And then for now, we still have the Wargs and the Scorpions separated amongst the rest of the pack. A 3-0 for the Wargs and an 0-3 for the Scorpions. Maybe that can change, because that set I said is going to be tomorrow, so maybe we can see an upset come from the underdogs, Trelly.
I mean, that would be nice to see. That would shake things up a little bit right now. The 3-0 team going to 3-1, and then the 0-3 team going to 1-3. So that would be a very solid switch up at the moment, but still, it's going to be exciting nonetheless. I mean, all these teams have something on the line. They have to make sure that they want these positions, so they're going to be playing their best Smite.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one out here for the E region. Very tight-knit race for these top 4 spots. We'll get to see what team is going to find a win in our next set. That's going to be coming up right after this break.